are live.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Locked On Lads TV for the Australasian Supercars eSeries, brought to you by my private seller. I am Carl Wilkinson Withy, and joining me up here in at the booth tonight, I have Mr. Scotty Rankin. How are you going, Scotty?
I'm a bit cold, to be honest. There's a cold snap come over the east coast of Australia, and, well, track conditions out there tonight, not cold. That's because they're over in America. They're racing around the Indianapolis Motor Speedway for the Indy 400, and, well, they're just heading into summer over there. So, roast your little toe beans up, get yourself a little bit warm by the hot, hot track, because the action that's coming our way tonight for round number 1 is going to be hot, hot, hot.
Yeah, that's it. The racing on track will definitely warm us up, and all the excitement will keep us nice and toasty. Also up here and doing all the camera work and all the fancy graphics and all of the other stuff that's important while we just talk away and do nothing really is Mr. Peter Wilco Wilkinson. How you going, Wilco?
I'm great. Yourself, mate? I just listened to you say that. So I am great. You are great. We're all great. I'm just quickly doing some finishing touches. Welcome to Locked On Lads, doing the Australasian Supercar eSeries for the first official time. I am literally in between studios at the moment. I've got a very cut down version of a studio right now. It's one monitor. Luckily it's a 43-inch TV, which is getting us there, but doing some I told Raymond Jaeger this afternoon that we were good to go. I'd fixed up all my problems with the overlay. We got a nice, good looking start to the season, and then 20 minutes before the thing, I went, I can just edit a few things, and I don't know if they're going to work. So join us live during the broadcast to see if these overlays work or not.
Live, uncut, and unhinged.
Yeah, that's it. If you hear me and Scotty giggling away, it's because Wilco's put himself on mute on the stream and is swearing away at the stream, going, why isn't this thing working for us? But we are here for season 4 of the Australasian Supercar eSeries. Supercar eSeries, there we go. Got it right. It is the 4th season and first season on Locked On Lads TV as well. So really exciting. Of course, Raymond Jaeger, you mentioned before, the reigning champion. So will he be able to defend that? Will Pinnacle be able to defend that title and, well, try and keep it on, try and get it back to their cars and keep it there, of course. They're going to be looking to try and do that again. And of course, Jaeger is going to be very interested in trying and retaining that number 1 on his car and keeping that championship as well.
Yeah, I mean, who doesn't love a number 1 to be sitting on the front end of their car? Raymond's actually taken the opportunity to move away from his regular number and opt to run the number 1, and that's it. That's on the screen. Round number 1, race number 1, 1-1-1, all the way around. Indianapolis Motor Speedway, proudly brought to you by my private seller as well. I'll tell you what, look, we're going to be back here in a week if you follow the official sort of iRacing for the IndyCar, the Indy 500. So qualifying for that starts on Tuesday. That's going to be a whole bit of fun and games. Before we get there, though, we've got to get through this. A bit of cloud covers just started to cover the track with seconds left in practice, and that has taken the track temperature down by 3 degrees Celsius. Was just 41 degrees Celsius out on track just a few moments ago. Now 38 degrees Celsius. That's going to change things up. The grip levels around this track change quite regularly with that track and air temperature, Carl. Time for our first qualifying session of the season. And man, if it starts anything like the way that last season ended, do you want to just walk us through what happened in those final 2 races of last season?
Oh gosh, I mean, what didn't happen? We had, I think everything possible happened. We had finishes that were dead heats. We had absolute no-style finishes. We had drama. We had everything. We had champions falling in and out of position. Raymond Jaeger, of course, managing to get that championship, just snatching it by the end of it. It looked like it had all, it looked like it was all over at one stage, and then he managed to get it back when an accident happened to one of his championship rivals. There was so much happening in those final 2 races that we did cover. Of course, it was spectacular. And if we get the same tonight, it is going to be fantastic. The racing was so close; it was almost unbelievable. We saw cars finishing on the podium, going in reverse. We had cars finishing on their roofs at some stages, but end of the day, we saw some really great racing, and these V8s on ovals, they really bring out some great racing. It's a really good mixture of the two different forms. So we are just getting out on track at the moment. I think we're just on board with Dylan Gray. So we are just going to be seeing the Indianapolis Motor Speedway in all of its glory. And what I'd probably say is, if we could jump to Mr. Raymond Jaeger, we will jump to him for a lap of the place as he's just about to start his first qualifying lap, and get a bit of a view. There we go. Get a bit of a view. So we head into turn 1 here. Tricky getting through here. Very easy to touch the wall. So close to the wall there for Jaeger. Nicely done. Just gets down nice and low. Almost touching the, well, just touching the slight curbing and apron that's down there, which is very brave to do at these speeds. You know, you're going almost 270, 280 kilometers per hour in these vehicles with their big old V8s in front. 650 horsepower, I think it is, off the top of my head. You know, these things are very, very quick. They're very heavy as well. They're not sort of light, nimble machines. But they have a lot of drag. They've got a lot of. They're a very different vehicle to drive on an oval. Of course, they're not really made specifically for it. So it's not like a NASCAR. It's not like an Indy car. It handles very differently, but it is still very quick. You can see by the top speeds here: 292, 293, 294 kilometers per hour. If that was miles per hour, that would be very impressive. But 294 kilometers per hour, of course, very, very quick indeed. Not quite up there with the Indy cars, which will be about 60 odd kilometers per hour faster, but still incredible speeds. And you've just got to be so pinpoint accurate as well. You can see Jaeger just getting so close to the walls and just getting it on those curbs perfectly. Really nice to do.
And it's all about tyre scrub. That is the name of the game. Justin Witcher is going to go to the top of the board. He's the fastest out on his first lap. It's all about not overheating those tyres. So Witcher's thrown down a 52.834. Jaeger's following closely behind with 52.891. The only two drivers to put a time in the 52.8s, Nigel Patton, 52.965. The only other driver to get below the 53-second mark. A lot of the drivers are now just punching out their second and final laps of the qualifying session, and it's all about tyre scrub here tonight. Those tyres at the front end of these things, they're going to be screaming for a break. Two left-handed 90-degree corners at each end of the circuit. That's a lap of Indianapolis. It is high speed, it's high risk, it's mega draft battle, it's all about the bump drafting, and it's everything that makes the Australian Supercars eSeries a fantastic series to be a part of. History about this race for this series. Previously, in previous seasons, we've had drivers run out of available tyre sets and have their tyres reach zero condition. What does that do? That gives you a meatball flag. What happens when you have a meatball flag? You have to come in and you have to get repairs to clear that flag. It's saying that you have damage, that your car should no longer be out in the race. Drivers have failed to finish this race because they've run out of tyres. I think we're a little bit safer though this time around.
Well, of course, one of the other things it does is it makes the tyre go poppity pop, and it can cause you to go crashing into a wall or something like that as well when that tyre reaches zero, which is never a fun situation to have.
Yeah, so it's a unique set of circumstances that the drivers will be dealing with here tonight. We're looking at a pit window. Carl, you were speaking to a few of the drivers doing fuel runs in earlier, sort of prior to the show. What were the drivers, the communications from them? Is there any sort of pit strategies coming out early on?
Yeah, the strategy is to stop and take fuel at some stage. It's a very, very unique strategy here. No, we're looking at around about 28 to 32 laps of fuel for these cars. They are relatively fuel hungry, and especially on these ovals because you are flat out pretty much all the way through. So expect that to be the part of it. Of course, they only have 4 sets of tyres for the event. That's right, isn't it? It's 4 sets. So you have the set you start on, and you have three sets for the race. So you get the start. You start on the set, and then you get 3 tyre changes through the race. Yeah. So that absolutely will make a difference there as well. But we are gridding up here for the first round of the championship, brought to you by My Private Sellers, Edge Setup Shops, Witcher Electrics, and of course Hot Toddy's Heating Installations. So let's run through the grid.
Yeah, and once again, returning to his fast, potent, and high-speed ways. It's going to be Justin Witcher rolling off of row number 1. Just having a quick look, if you can there, Wilco. I don't think our timing screen's actually matching up with what's on the grid. there at this point in time. I can actually tell you that Reese May was the second fastest qualifier with a 52.883.
Agreed, he was. I'm going to hide this.
Row. You're all good. It's the thing about coming to you live for the new season. Sometimes there's some technical gremlins. They creep in. You've got to resolve them. But Raymond Jaeger, previous champion, we've already talked a lot about him. 52.891 was pipped by Reese Mays, 52.883. Greg Spencer, 52.911 off of the outside of the second row. Nigel Patton and Kate Donnelly are going to be off row number 3. Just behind them, Craig Roffey and Peter Jones. Craig, I believe, is a new name to the series, a very avid V8 Supercar fan. Expect him to do quite well. Barry Neal, always quite quick in practice, always quite quick in qualifying, rounds us out in P number 9. And then finally in the top 10 is Adam Malone before we move on to another rookie in P number 11.
Yeah, with Dylan Gray and Aidan Schultz taking up the next row. Then it is Jai Schultz and Darren McKenzie. Watch out for McKenzie, always quick. Christopher Finley and Warwick Sharp next up in 15th and 16th. Then we have Jared Daly and Ruben Phelps in the 17th and 18th positions. Then it's Tristan Koch, Aaron Byron, Nicholas Walsh and Brad Fenley, Todd Maxfield, Jamie Nankervis, 23rd, 24th. 25th, we have Kim Roffey and Tom Pritchard in 26th. Darren Johnston and Philip Howe, 27th, 28th. 29th, we have Peter Madison and then Brian Trezase. Then Steve Hall, Troy Mortensen, Shay Mallow, Gary Wellman and Aaron Dillon rounding out the field tonight. Although I don't know if Dillon's taken the start, so we might just be down to 34 cars by the looks of it, and I don't think Aaron Dillon's made the start of it. But it's good to start for Pinnacle. They have a lot of cars up the front. The only person really blocking them out is that man Reese May. Blocked Pinnacle out from taking out the front row completely.
And they're already laughing about it actually in the in-game chat. These guys are actually really enjoying things to start off the season in the biggest field that I think we've seen to date in the Australian Supercars eSeries. If you haven't seen a taste of these guys yet, it is cars that aren't designed to do these sorts of speeds, going around higher speed turns, high banking turns. You're going to see the tyres quite very heavily loaded. You're going to see guys getting used to a pack for the first time in a V8 Supercar. It's going to be racing that a lot of people are a little bit unsure of. They've got to get through this. There's no fast repair. It's all risk, no reward. In the early runnings of this one, Carl. So you're expecting to see maybe a single file out towards the front end of things, guys looking to save a little bit of fuel?
Look, I'd normally say yes, but knowing these guys, I'm expecting 2 rows. So I expect we'll probably see 2 rows early on, and then maybe they'll drop in single file as it gets a little bit longer. But the pace car is about to pull in, of course. It is an oval, so it is a pace car. And in it comes Justin Witcher is about to lead us away for round 1, season 4 of the Australasian Supercar eSeries, brought to you by My Private Sellers. The green flag is about to drop, and away we go. Witcher gets a good start, gets a bit of a tail wiggle off the line. Reese May gets a fantastic leap, though. He's going to get his nose ahead into the first corner, but Witcher will have that inside line that is going to be 3 wide. 3 wide in the back. With Peter Jones right on the outside, it is absolute chaos towards the back with cars 3-4 wide. They've managed to keep it going. Great job by all the drivers. Nobody got up into the wall just yet, so very good job by everybody to keep it clean there through the first couple of corners.
Yeah, Reese May didn't get away as cleanly as he would have liked, and another car just in behind them got a really good start. I think that might have been Craig Roffey, got the wheels turning nice and quickly. Now they'll start to settle out for the first lap through 3 and 4, but it is going to be the boys from Pinnacle Esports running 1, 2 and 3 at this early stage. Little bit of a bobble from May. Kate Donnelly really high, wide and handsome. Was there an accident?
Peter Jones. Peter Jones up into the wall, and that's going to bring out our first caution for the night. We make it to lap 2, but big moment. Reese May just gets loose on the corner. I think he just took a little bit too much of the apron. Goes down a little bit too hard, gets a little bit wiggly, and that caused Kate Donnelly to check up. And then,
have a look at that on the replay. Jones catching the curbing on the inside, shoots from the inside to the outside barrier, and is just an absolute pinball. He's been bounced off the bumpers, in the inside, through the field, smoke billowing everywhere. Well, the only thing that he's earned himself tonight's maybe a high score at the ping pong table. Pinball table, that one.
Yeah, ping pong. The pong table. But yeah, I think it resulted from that checkup in front of him. He's just gone into the corner, and I think he's just gone to avoid it. And because of that, he's sort of seen what's happening up front. He's seen that checkup coming up front. Then he's gone to avoid it, and then he's just not been able to turn the car in. So he's sort of shot it up track, and that has caused that big accident. And that car is, well, there's no more, is it? There is, that engine is absolutely done for. I guess the only consolation for Peter Jones, is the fact that it happened right next to pit lane, so not far for him to go to retire the car.
And I tell you what, Adam Malone got a very big piece of that. That was the car that you did see colliding in. Nearly the entire field is going to come down pit lane. There's going to be a whole bunch of cars towards the back end that'll go, oh, you know what? I wouldn't mind some track position about now, and you'll see them make that play. Adam Malone will probably opt for an extended stay on pit road at this point in time. A damaged engine. He was right up there in the mix of things towards the tail end. The car that you see right there in the front that they'll drive through is Peter Jones. Few guys opting to stay out. Cade Donnelly is the first among them. Christopher Finlay, Aaron Bryan, Nicholas Walsh. So I'm seeing 3 of the Sim Boys entries towards the front end of the field not opting to take their stops. Todd Maxfield, Gary Wellman. So make that 5 of the Sim Boys entries. Deciding that they want to play for track position.
And right here we'll see who paid attention to their boxes on the car, because of course you only want to take fuel at the moment. You definitely do not want to take tyres. If you take tyres right now, it's going to be a bit troublesome for the rest of the race, of course. It looks like everybody just went for fuel by the looks of things, because I think tyres is about 15 seconds, if I'm correct.
15 seconds, somewhere along that. Fuel's the big one in the V8 supercars. It takes an absolute age to fill a V8 supercar tank.
Yeah, I wonder if Jamie Curvis actually took tyres by mistake, because he was stationary for exactly 14 seconds. And there's no damage on that car that I can see.
I mean, at the end of the day, maybe keeping yourself at the back of things, saving a lot more fuel at the tail end of the pack. It's maybe he was opting to manually force himself to the rear end by opting to stay on pit road longer. I mean, in the opening exchanges, Carl, sometimes that can actually work out in your favor.
Well,
what's the mindset behind that?
Jamie had dropped to the back of the pack anyway.
Yeah, he did have a slow section in this. I was going to go back to him in that first lap, so I don't know if he picked up a little bit of damage there.
He just dropped to the back of the pack, and yeah, he was just sitting.
There's a whole heap going in again for more fuel.
Yeah,
that is an interesting move there, because as we said, these things chew up their fuel very, very quickly indeed. So a little bit of extra fuel in the tank can really help.
Well, it's going to be the Pinnacle. The Pinnacle Esports boys, all of them cycling back through. Reese May as well, opting to come down. So they've gone, you know what, we've lost control of this pack. We don't really have what we wanted out of it. And remember, they did do a full formation lap as well. So it was a full formation lap plus 3/4 of a lap, with the accident coming basically as the leaders got to the start-finish line was when the caution flag flew. So the tanks were quite empty. Coming back down for an extra splash, I think these guys are just playing the safe game. And again, Carl, well, yeah, it's a great opportunity to talk about it because, well, now the leaders are playing that game.
Yeah, that's it. It could just give you that extra bit of fuel to maybe go one more lap out there, which could mean that a caution comes out and you can pit under caution and save yourself an awful lot of time. It gives you a little bit more choice on strategy, things like that. So interesting to see that group just taking that little bit of extra fuel. It's even under the caution car, under the pace car. They use a fair bit of fuel, these cars. They'll be leaving them in a higher gear, of course, lifting and coasting, putting it in neutral, and even switching off engines and things like that. There's so many things you can do to try and save fuel in cars. But at the end of the day, if you can get a little bit more fuel in the tank, then that is going to be very useful indeed. So interesting to see there. We are getting ready for the restart, though. It is Cade Donnelly leading away for Sim Boys at the moment, so he's going to become effectively the leader. It's a Sim Boys front row at the moment because there are many of them. We've got Christopher Finlay there as well. So on the outside, and away they go. The Sim Boys launch away. Kay Donnelly gets a nice launch there. Chris Finley drops back a little bit. He doesn't get quite as good start. You can see that Aaron Byron gets a fantastic launch on the inside, and that's going to be helpful because that inside line is going to work nicely. Will Finley be able to hold that high line? He does, just about. Doesn't touch the wall. He manages to get that position.
I tell you what, keep your eyes on Gary Wellman. Wellman's been the guy over the last couple of seasons that's always had his nose in the championship fight when it comes to the tail end of the season. Middle split racing car just immediately in behind them. as well as actually going to be Craig Roffey. And he's a newbie to the series, the middle split racing entries as well, the teams. Well, there's something we haven't talked about yet as well, Carl, is a new feature coming to the Australian Supercars eSeries is the teams championship. And start off with numbers maybe not what they expected, but you've got to start somewhere.
Yeah, that's it. A few teams in the mix for this one. So teams championship wise, so teams entered, I should say. We have got, as they just go past, who was that? Just
Steve
smoking
Hall.
away on the inside. Steve Hall, his engine has gone. What has happened there to him? He's not really looking like he's got damage. He's just.
I'll go back and have a look at that one.
Oh, we got it on replay now.
So did he blow his engine on the restart? Did he just shift down per chance?
He's going slow, going into turn one, all of a sudden, with smoke, for no reason. So I say it's the gears change.
Yeah, looks like he has absolutely messed up the gear changes there and gone down instead of up and over-revved the engine. Which is unfortunate to do, and that is really cost him. Because that is a very costly mistake to make. Obviously, it's a sequential gearbox,
Yeah, he did. He did exactly that. He went to go to sixth gear, right as his fifth gear revved out, went into fourth. I'm just having a look at his dash panel on the replay in car at the moment, so that's exactly what's happened to Steve Hall. So good spot by Wilco up there on the controls, has managed to pick that one up. Well, racing continues for just about everybody else. That's going to be a very, very extended, painful engine swap for him. He's going to be stuck on pit lane, and normally within iRacing, it takes about half an hour to change one of those engines over, so he'll be stuck there for an extended period of time.
Exactly, yeah. I mean, it's half an hour is a bit costly, isn't it, for an engine change? We could do it in about 10 minutes, I reckon. Get me a...
The world record for engine changes is like a minute.
Yes, it's held by a British crew. They changed the engine, gearbox, and what else was it? I think it was the diff as well. But it was a specialised car. Effectively, it had a quick release system. It's a fantastic thing to watch. They actually changed everything. They basically rebuild a car. It's hilarious to watch. But yeah, it's very crazy to see it. Of course, Audi had some really cool quick release systems for Le Mans for their gearboxes and diffs and stuff. Obviously not the engine, but they could do some ridiculous stuff by changing stuff so quickly. But the V8 Supercar's not as modular, not quite as easy to change. We've got some good racing going on a little bit further down the pack. Reese May in front of this little battle here with Nigel Patton as well. So in that group. And there's a good little battle going there. Barry Neal moving up as well. So some good fighting going on. Up the front, they have kind of settled into that single line formation, but Kate Donnelly has pulled out a massive gap. So he's pulled out about a second lead at the moment over his teammates, and is just pulling away from Finley and Wellman, who have sort of linked up to each other. Then it goes back to Aaron Bryan, and he's fallen a little bit further back, and there's a huge gaggle of cars behind him, and they're just going to be sitting there happy, getting a little bit of fuel saving, of course. One of the things about these cars, obviously, is they have a lot of downforce to them, and they've got that big wing on the back, which creates a lot of drag. And if you can sit behind another car, effectively it helps reduce that drag a little bit for you. So they're quite draggy cars in that respect, and that can be quite detrimental to the fuel efficiency.
I can tell you for a fact that there was, not last season, but the season before, somebody from the commentary box decided a weird and wonderful strategy would be the way to go. Had a look at the field, said, you guys are all just going too slow for me, and decided that he was going to disappear off into the sunset with the race, and it very nearly worked out with him. I wonder if Cade Donnelly's not trying to do the same thing, because it ended up being, for me, I think it was 100 laps led out of the 160. I just disappeared into the sunset. Yeah, I was short on fuel, but I wasn't short by much. And these guys do a lot of work in terms of their fuel numbers, and at this point in time, actually, Craig Roffey's starting to get a little bit of a move on as well. It'll be the next pack. No, sorry, it's the pack that we're actually looking at. Jumps out of line. Will be Warwick Sharp. Will be looking for a spot. Somebody going with him there as well. Move starting to come to the inside. And Dylan Gray it is that's trying to go along with Warwick Sharp. We'll see if these two can go together. They're trying to get underneath Nicholas Walsh, and it looks like Gray will just about clear him. Warwick has definitely gotten through. These are the cars that did come in for that extra splash of fuel, so keep your eyes on the cars we're about to run through at this point in time. Craig Roffey is the leader of your cars that has pit on lap 3. Warwick Sharp, Dylan Gray, also lap 3. Jared Daly, Darren McKenzie, the next couple in this group that have also pit on lap 3. Everyone else up in this sort of grouping has spent a fair bit of their fuel reserves at this point in time.
Yeah, that's it. They'll be a little bit lighter, of course, because there's a little bit less fuel on board, but that doesn't really affect you too much on a super speedway like Indianapolis. Having that extra bit of fuel means you can put your foot harder to the floor. You don't have to worry as much about saving, and you can just use a little bit more of that horsepower available to you to absolutely breeze past people. And I think that's what's happening now, is those guys that didn't stop are starting to fuel save it a little bit, and they're starting to fall back. As you can see, and the guys that did stop are now just absolutely going full throttle and not worrying about it. If they can make it to a good distance where they can possibly even try and, just try and do one less stop than everybody else, that would make a huge difference to the race if it runs green. But of course, that's a big if it runs green.
One thing I haven't heard you mention tonight yet, Carl, is the fact that this is the first round of the Triple Crown as well.
Did not know that. I didn't know we had a Triple Crown. Give me more information, Wilco.
Crown we have. Quickly, if hopefully nothing goes wrong here, I can quickly bring up the round for the season. Triple Crown, so keep an eye out for that one as well.
Triple Crowns, they create a little bit more drama, a little bit more to add to the racing spectacle. Well, speaking of adding to the racing spectacle, have a look at those guys up in front. Now we'll start to cycle back through Craig Roffey. I think that was Todd Maxfield, I believe it was, just starting to show the nose. No, it was Gary Wellman, it might have been. Yeah, it was Gary Wellman.
Gary Wellman just passing Ruben Phelps there, who's just gone down a lap. So Ruben Phelps dropping a lap already. So Ruben's just not got the pace at the moment, which is odd. We've seen Ruben get some really good runs in the past, but he just is seemingly lacking pace at the moment. But maybe going for a heavy fuel save.
Oh, here we go. Actually, a move about to go down the inside. Dylan Gray's lined up a pass on Nicholas Walsh. He's forced him to the higher side of the track, just in behind these guys. Yep, there it is. Walsh is a long way up the track. Again, Gray tries to clear him. Looks like he's trying to stay glued to that rear bumper of Warwick Sharp. Those two know each other, have worked together in the past. Be keen to see if they want to do that. Walsh gets a great run off the corner, but he's stuck down low without that draft. Looking for the side draft, trying to pull that Ford Mustang GT of Dylan Gray back. He's managed to succeed in doing so to a point, but now it'll be Walsh who'll try and resurge on the inside. The momentum from the high side for Gray, still trying to work around the top. High, wide, and handsome's the terminology generally used in this instance. High, wide, and handsome it might be as the draft starts to work back in Gray's favour, and Walsh will have to pop in. Well, move, it took 3-4 corners, but finally gets it done.
Yeah, beautiful job there. Of course, these cars tend to have a little bit more side drafting opportunity to them, don't they?
Well, that's just it. I mean, it was a great piece done by, I believe it was Larko at Simmons Plains, which is one of those tracks where it's so important to get your drafting down pat, and not alone your side drafting. What it does, it's going to scoop all of that air up and dump it on the rear wing, creating a parachute-style effect. to the rear wings of the car. What you do to do that is basically go and stick your front bumper about just in front of the car ahead of you's rear wheels, and that'll dump all that air right where you want it to be.
Just been made aware too that apparently OBS for those scenes I put up with the rounds on it had no audio on it too. So the Triple Crown is the Indianapolis 400, which we're doing right now. The Homestead Nationals 2-time 60-lap heat races, followed up by 45-lap B main and a 90-lap main is the second leg of the Triple Crown on the 31st of July. And then, as we said, but you didn't hear, the California Classic rounding out the season, 150 laps on November 6th for the end of the Triple Crown. Sorry about that, everyone.
All good, Wilco. Well, got things all sorted now, and if you have a look at the front end of the field at this point in time, Donnelly and Roman have hooked up, and they've just set sail, and lap traffic's starting to filter its way back through the main pack. Those two guys working together side by side at this point in time. That's not how you work together, boys. Normally you either want to be A, hooked up, or B, slingshot drafting. One of the two. Doesn't matter which one, but you need to pick one.
I wonder if tyres are starting to play a little bit for Cade there, because he did go out really fast, really early, and we see that in other broadcasts where that starts to hurt about this time. So we'll see if Gary has a bit more grip than what Cade has.
I was about to say, I wonder if they're going to start working together now, having Gary Wellman just in front of Cade, because he has led a lot of this race, and they're just going to try and switch it around a little bit, work together, but it is the Sim Boys, and we do know they love to race each other as well, so chances are they're just going to be going, just having fun and absolutely going at each other, so you never know with those boys. They often will absolutely battle out with each other. We've got some great fights happening a little bit further down. Dylan Gray is having a bit of a nibble on Aaron Byron at the moment. Brian is just losing that position. Gray got the inside line. You can see just behind him Darren McKenzie getting a run on there as well as they go 3 wide here at Indianapolis, and it just pulls in at the last moment, and Darren McKenzie gets a beautiful slingshot, getting 2 cars in one straight.
Yeah, and it all worked from a small check-up in the pack, and now look at McKenzie as well. D-Max said, you know what, fuel saving, not interested. I am going to put pedal to the metal, and we're going to be going somewhere, somehow, at some point. Now Warwick Sharp at the front end of this pack sticks the nose out. He's going to have a go at Craig Ruffy, and he will get that move done as well. So there's a few cars now in this second pack that have gone, hang on, these guys have bolted, we need to get together, we need to do something about it, and Warwick Sharp is going to be the guy that tries to lead them away.
Yeah, really nice move there. There's some good battling going on. This is the kind of pack race that we love to see. And it's great to see the respect being shown as well. These guys are not pushing too hard at the moment. There's no point pushing too hard. We're only on lap 19 of 100.
Oh, D-Mac got a big check up there. It's Ruben Phelps, and he was trying to get around. That is that lapped car we talked about earlier on in the piece. It's a part of racing is lapped traffic. Shorter circuits, shorter lap times, and they will be becoming a part of things, particularly when those cars lose the draft. Let's actually talk a little bit at this point in time about our draft packs. So we've got the number 1, number 2 cars locked together. Gary Wellman, Cade Donnelly, talked a lot about them. This second pack is from P5, which is Craig Ruffy, I believe it was that last time by the line, all the way down to P14. So P5 to P14. Third, 4th, 5th, all working together. My apologies, it's not Craig Ruffy. Craig Ruffy's attached to that pack, so it's 6 to 14. And then we throw it all the way back to 15th and 16th working together, which at this time is Raymond Jaeger and Brad Fenley. 3 wide once again, heading down into turn number 3. Once again, it's Dylan Gray and Darren McKenzie. These guys want to have at it, and McKenzie is going to have to lift out. Gray sends it 3 wide. He's young. He's a 16. I believe he might have just been coming up on his 17th birthday in the near future. And Dylan Gray is having an absolute go at this. And Warwick Sharp's pulled away. D-Mac might have another go at this. D-Mac will have another go at this. And it might be time for the young fella to yield. Just for now, might be time to sit in behind an experienced campaigner like D-Mac there, Carl.
Yeah, it's good to watch though. The sort of veterans, you say. Sometimes it's good just to get a little bit of an idea of how they're going and what's going on. But there's some really interesting sort of just people losing the draft.
Oh,
and just
car in
really
the fence!
struggling.
Car in the fence in between turns 1 and 2. Just trying to get a read on who that one is. They're towed back to the pit lane. They're done.
Yeah, Philip Howe. I think.
Oh, D-Mac nearly gone to Warwick Sharp as well. Nearly forced him up the track. It's getting dicey. These guys are sick of playing the fuel game, Carl.
Yeah, they are. So just going back to that incident, so it was a contact between Kim Roffey and Philip Howe, unfortunately, and Howe just got tapped on the left front, sorry, and he's just had to get it in. I think he might have got some serious damage, and he basically just pulled it over and just towed it back to pit lane. So obviously more damage to that car than we suspected. So that's not good news to him, but there's some great racing going on at the moment. All throughout the pack, it's just trying to keep an eye where to look at the moment.
Yeah, and it's about time to start keeping your eyes on the Southern Stars eSports and the Skypoint racing cars, because at this point in time, you've got the likes of D-Mac, Darren McKenzie, and Aiden Schultz. Those two are starting to work together. They want control of this second group. They're starting to lose touch with the leaders, and they want to do something about it. And Dylan Gray at this point is the big old roadblock sitting in the middle of it. Warwick Sharp now, he's going to have to give a good old shove along towards him. Schultz is looking for positioning, not quite able to find it this time by. They close up in, as is the way that drafting works, onto Darren McKenzie once again. It's sort of pop out of line. Sometimes you just get punished for it. Oh, here comes Schultz. He's not quite done with it. He wants to show the nose underneath Dylan Gray. He'll drift up a little bit in the mid-corner. Try and get back into the draft. We'll see if Sharp and Gray can work together, close back up in on D-Mac, but it looks like McKenzie has got some really good tyres underneath him.
Yeah, he looks like he's just saved a little bit more of that rubber and he's just making it work for himself at the moment. What this is doing, though, these guys battling it out as hard as they are just dropping off a little bit. They've fallen back a little bit from Craig Roffey in 5th position. Down to 6th, so there's a good couple of seconds between those two guys now, and they're pulling away a little bit. There's a group with Todd Maxwell, Christopher Finlay, and Craig Roffey. They're pulling away a little bit. Meanwhile, Kate Donnelly and Gary Wellman are still some of the fastest cars on track, so those leaders are absolutely getting it out. As a little bit further back, it is absolutely crazy stuff. Aaron Byrne, Nicholas Walsh, the Skypoint guys, Tom Pritchard, Jai Schultz as well. They are all over the place, racing really hard for those positions, but they are racing so hard they're just dropping off the rest of this pack. So all of this battling is great for us to watch, but not great for them for the race, because they're losing time and it's helping the cars behind catch up a little bit. You've got people like, well, you've got the group of Raymond Jaeger, and that's one of the cars that's stopped twice, of course, and the current champion, he's catching up to this little group now as the caution flag comes out.
Where's that one for? Not quite sure where that one's actually been called for. Showing a couple cars in pit lane at this point in time, but I don't think that they were the cause of that one. So caution has come out. That's going to freeze and reset the field. Starting to get the feeling.
Che Mello, I believe.
It was a lap car.
Yeah, he's had a bit of a moment in the 812, and he stopped, and unfortunately he stopped out on track, and I think he actually stopped on the actual track itself and then just towed into pit lane, but unfortunately because he did that, it's brought out the yellow flag.
Yeah, so there's actually no incident that's been caused at this point in time, but that's just the driver saying, I've ejected, I'm sort of done for now. So that's an interesting one. That will throw a little bit of a spanner in the works, because the big issue that Donnelly, Wellman, Maxfield and Finlay have got is that they're going to have to sit stationary for a very long period of time. And has Jaeger been fuel saving, as is normally the case for Raymond Jaeger?
Well, I was about to say, we were almost at the end of a stint, weren't we, Carl? We were talking about the 30 lap mark, and these guys have done 24 laps.
Exactly, 24 laps done for Kate Donnelly.
Actually good timing for them, to be honest.
But they will be stationary for longer to fill up the tanks. So that will mean that Craig Roffey could be in for a chance of getting in front of these boys. So he could be in with a shout of getting in front, because he'll have to be stationary just a little less time. Although it's only 3 laps difference.
Hey, Donnelly's going very slow. Has he gone past the safety car, the pace car?
Yeah, so that's actually a replay at this point in time.
Yes, live, yeah.
So what's actually happened is that the pace car was catching him up at that point in time, because I believe they just about to pass the start-finish line when the caution flag was actually flying, so the pace car was still coming up to speed and trying to catch the field. I don't know
Right.
about you, Wilco, but if somebody suddenly says pace car scramble, 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 I don't think you drive out of pit lane immediately.
Don't know. I'm pretty quick, as you can tell on these buttons.
So, who will win the race out of pit lane? That's going to be an interesting one to watch, as they are stationary, and you can see it
Craig
is
Rothie.
Craig Rothie.
Yeah.
What did I say, ladies and gentlemen? What did I say as they were coming to pit lane? So it's almost like I can predict things. But yeah, just stationary for a little bit less time, had a bit more fuel on board. That really helped him jump a lot of cars. He was sitting behind Christopher Finley when he came in. He's now in front of the rest of the Sim Boys, and he's taking the lead of this race.
It's very interesting. The Pinnacle boys are right at the back still after they did stop twice. You would have thought they would have had a much quicker stop, unless they've taken tyres there as well, but that wouldn't have made any difference either.
I would estimate that it would probably be still quite a bad idea to be taking tyres. Normally what you'll see out of the Pinnacle Esports boys is that one of them will go hell for leather and the other one will sort of sit back, hold back a little bit, save their fuel, save their tyres and sort of bank it up. So basically at all stages they'll have one car on each strategy.
I suppose Raymond is up to 15th, which considering he was right at the back.
I was just about to say, he's actually gained sort of a couple of positions. He didn't actually save much time in that stop, so he might have been because he was leading the pack as well, he would have been using a little bit more fuel too, which doesn't help in that respect. So Craig Rothie, he was sitting behind a couple of the Sim Boys, so he was saving a bit of fuel. So he was stationary for 23 seconds. Kay Donnelly, 27 seconds. Gary Wellman, 26.3. Chris Finley, 26.7. Todd Maxwell, 27 seconds. And then you had people like Raymond Jaeger, 24.3 seconds. It wasn't much time they gained, but it was a little bit. So it's that's the thing in that sort of strategy. It's not a huge amount of time. And also, it depends how much of a gap there is when you get into pit lane as well. Because if you're still trying to catch up to the cars in front of you, sometimes you don't gain as much time if there's a big gap in certain areas. So sometimes that can lose you a little bit of time if you're quite far off the leaders. And they were a good, I think they were about 20 odd seconds off the leader when the caution flag fell. So they might not have quite caught up to the rest of the pack when that happened, and it might not have made too much of a difference.
Tell you what's interesting, Steve Hall has just rejoined the racing surface as well after unfortunately deciding to shift into 4th gear instead of 6th gear. Earlier in the race, he's made his return.
Yeah, and that's, what did we say, about 20 odd minutes or so for the...
Yeah, it's not too bad. That's actually quite good.
So yeah, they did a good job on the old engine swap there. Rebuilding that engine.
I think it's actually less than that, because remember we had the caution as well. So it's probably going to be somewhere in the realm of 15 to 18 minutes. I'll tell you what, if Steve Hall's mechanics are looking for a little bit of work, I might have something for them.
They could be very useful indeed. Obviously, they've been off to Edge Setup Shop, and they've been set up correctly. Of course, if you're looking for Edge Setup Shops, of course, or maybe they were just lightning quick because they were part of Witcher Electronics. Who knows? But interesting stuff there. But we're about to go green once again. Craig Rothie leading the way, and he does drop the loud pedal as there's a little bit of a check up behind. Rothie gets a very good start indeed, gets away cleanly. But there is a bit of a checkup a little bit further back. I think it might have been Dylan Gray. I saw one of the SkyPoint cars. They just had to put the brakes on a little bit as they jumped a little bit too early.
Yeah, it was DMAC. DMAC kind of got a little bit of a good initial launch, and then sort of had to phase back into it. A couple cars did opt to take the wave round, I believe, that time by as well. So there's a few cars starting to cycle back through. Warwick Sharp is now going to cycle to the outside there with Gray on Aiden Schultz, checking up at the back end of this pack. That's what happens when the cars all condense at the tail end of a straight. Sharp will drop back inside now. Single Flower back out in front of things, and Ruffy, well, he's had the benefit of sitting behind a whole bunch of these guys for a very extended period of time. Now it's his turn to lead, and I don't think the Sim Boys will be... They'll either do one of two things. They'll either opt to go past him very, very quickly, or they'll just sit there and let him burn.
I think the Sim Boys, as is often tradition, is they'll want to try and get past and race. And you can see there in the background, Darren McKenzie is wanting to take the race to them. He is pushing his way up the field at the moment in the SkyPoint car, trying to get his way, the Southern Stars car, getting his way up there and pushing forwards, of course. So interesting to see this battle going on as he gets a nice move underneath Gary Wellman this time, moving forwards past the green Simboy and getting his way up towards the front. He wants to be leading this race. He does not want to be sitting behind cars.
I'll tell you what, Wellman is minding his P's and Q's, definitely lifted out there to let that one happen. D-Mac is on the move, and D-Mac has been the guy to make moves within the pack so far tonight. The only other driver really capable of doing huge amounts of moves is Raymond Jaeger. I'll check in with him at the moment, down in P11. Here comes the move actually from D-Mac. Roffey on the outside gets the support from Kate Donnelly, but is it D-Mac to take it to the lead? Maybe a new race leader right here for the first time on the circuit that wasn't just handed away.
McKenzie got a fantastic run there in the 0-2. Really, really nice bit of running, and he absolutely slung-shot himself past and flew to the lead there, just getting in front. Craig Roffey probably not too disappointed about that, as that will just be nice for his fuel mileage a little bit. That will help him out a tiny bit here, and just give him that little bit of an opportunity just to relax a little bit and you know, not have to worry about being the lead car. But he has to stick onto the back of Darren McKenzie, who is absolutely flying at the moment. He was a good couple of, well, last time round he set a lap of a 53.1, so a very fast lap indeed at this stage of the race. Fastest lap currently is a 52.9, so really setting some good speed at the moment.
In fact, he's actually gone 2/10 quicker. Steve Hall cycles back out of the pits once again. I have a feeling that might have been serving a black flag. I have a feeling, a sneaking suspicion, he may have gotten a penalty for overtaking under yellow or the like. Under that last green flag, coming back to the green at that point in time, purely because he was cycling himself through the pack. So that's just a little bit unlucky for Steve Hall. Adds a little bit more insult to injury. Keep your eyes back in the pack. There's quite a few fancy liveries, and now we're starting to take a little bit of notice of Raymond Jaeger and co, sitting in P11 and P12 with Barry Neal along for the ride.
Yeah, some really nice looking liveries out there. McKenzie just nudges the wall there.
I don't think he did. Did he? Did he get away with that?
I think he might have got away with that one. On my screen, he just... It was a...
No, he got away with it. There's no marks on that car whatsoever.
So I think he's got saved from that one. So that is good news indeed for him. But that just shows how hard they're pushing.
Yeah, he is absolutely going for it. Turn the wick up as Darren McKenzie. He's had enough of this fuel-saving business. He's had enough of this sitting back. He's had enough of minding his P's and Q's. 3 wide in the mid-pack right now as Dylan Gray, Warwick Sharp start to show us. I believe that might be, in fact, it is Aiden Schultz that's along with those guys at this point in time. So that battle continues to rage. And I tell you what, Dylan Gray's going to send it nice and deep. He's got a long way up inside. Aiden Schultz follows him through, and Warwick Sharp has been left out to dry. Drops a whole host of spots, and now they're lining up to go through on Warwick Sharp. There's a few more coming his way, if you don't mind. Trying to get back into the queue, though, and settle things back down. Guys, somebody remind these fellas, we're 33 laps into a 160-lap race.
Still a long way to go. 128 laps remaining, of course, so still a long time to go in this race. But they really do not care about that at the moment. They just want to race hard, and they are having fun with it as well. And look, telling a race driver to slow down is like telling a cat to do anything. It's not an easy thing to do.
You say that.
They tend not to listen.
You say that, but my wife just recently taught our cat how to high five, so...
Yeah, but that involved giving it food, I imagine, and giving it lots of treats.
Race cars take fuel. That's treats.
Yeah, but race drivers don't. You see, that's the issue. It's racing drivers. There's very little that you can treat them with other than a good race and getting a win. So
I don't know if we had the webcams on tonight. You might see a few drivers out there that have had a few treats, I think.
I was about to say, ladies and gentlemen, if you're joining us out there on the social media, time for our viewer question of the night. If you had a racing driver and you wanted him to listen to you, what would you give them to do so? I'd feed my cat treats. What do you feed a racing driver? Is it a set of fresh tyres? They like those.
It's a salmon and cheese treat, isn't it? You just offer them one of those and the racing driver is all yours.
Well, I know how to get Carl to race the way I want him to.
Joe Schultz just getting a really big move as Warwick Sharp just gets a big wiggle on, loses a couple of spots, just drops behind Barry Neal as well. Barry Neal in the beautiful blue Ayatora racing car, getting a nice run at the moment. And Raymond Jaeger, the champion from last season, moving up as well. He's working his way up through the field. The Pinnacle cars have broken up a little bit. They're no longer in a line, but they are moving up with each other. Lots of cars on the lead lap still. We still have 28 cars on the lead lap, although you've got to say Brian Trazier is going to be really struggling out there on the lead lap as he's got a lot of front end damage. Ruben Phelps still circulating. I'm not sure why he dropped 2 laps. I'm sort of still trying to figure out what happened to Ruben because he lost a lot of time and there's not really anything that I could see that caused it. But hopefully it's not an issue with his VR again. He had some issues with his VR system last night where it was causing a bit of pain. Hopefully that's not the case tonight.
Braden from that's YouTube has come up with one of your answers there, Scott, and it's a Locked On iRacing episode, podcast episode. Might get them to do what you want them to do. Is his suggestion. So check out the Locked On iRacing podcast.
There you go. We might have
just Braden wanting his own episode. He's just wanting to take over the show, isn't he? That's it.
Has he not taken over the show already? Really? Hurry up.
You're supposed to shut the door when you kick him out of the podcast booth. You know that, Wilco.
No, I want them to shut the door on me. I want to sleep.
Wilco has unfortunately been quite stressed out over the last few weeks moving house, I believe.
Weeks/years. Yeah, weeks moving house. Yes, that's it.
Oh.
Yeah, that's the only stressful thing in his life as well, just moving house. There's no other stress that he has.
No.
So, Wilco, aka a ball of stress. But yeah, it has been busy. Big move there as we see Raymond Jaeger on an absolute charge now. Just getting a big run on the outside of Jai Schultz, on the inside of Jai Schultz, and really gets a good run there. Side by side they go through turn 1 and 2 as they go along, and you can see Todd Maxfield following here as Josh Schultz had to take the long way round, and that's just unsettled the car a little bit, cost him a little bit of time. Todd Maxfield tried to maximise on that but didn't quite make it.
And it's quite critical that these guys start to work together once again right here. Jaeger will need Schultz to work with him. Not so to be the case because Barry Neal and Aiden Schultz just ahead of them. The two Schultzes are actually in sister teams here tonight, but no relation whatsoever. They constantly have the battle for who's the better Schultz, so it's now in their best interest to start working together. Well, Barry Neal and Aiden Schultz are going to go side by side. That's going to slow the pair of them down, which is going to slow this battle pack back up together, but they've fallen a long way back off the lead pack at this point in time. We've got a 5-car breakaway.
Dylan Gray making a move for the lead of the race. He absolutely got a great run. Went from 3rd to 1st in a single straight. So down the start, finish straight. Dylan Gray in the 191 got a fantastic run and gets into the lead of this race. And I imagine Darren McKenzie's probably like, okay, yeah, this isn't too bad. Again, I can actually do a little bit of fuel saving here. Do a tiny bit of easing off here, but great run from Dylan Gray there. Really nice move from the youngster.
Just answering your question there, we've got Ruben Phelps and Darren Johnson in the pits right now as one of the boys in the front pack just hits the wall on the exit there of turn 4. But yeah, I don't know what's happened there, but Phelps back in the pits.
Yeah, I'm going to have a little look at that. No obvious reason for Phelps to be pitting that I can see, other than strategic value. So we got people coming in.
Strategery? Did I hear strategery?
A little bit of strategery. So strategic options here for Darren Johnston, Ruben Phelps, and Jared Daly absolutely missing his box, his pit box there. It's not what you want to do under a green flag stop.
Theoretically, we are 4 stops or 3 more stops out from the end of the race right now, so that does make a little bit of sense, I guess.
Yeah, so strategic options at play here, so interesting to see. I wonder who else will take that option now and come in now and sort of see if they can actually do some work with that. But I think Ruben's just decided to come in and just throw the dice a little bit because he was a lap down, so he's just trying something very different. and just rolling the dice a little bit, seeing if he can actually get some improvements. And you never know, it might work out in his favour.
I feel the problem he's got is he's on fresh tyres, but he can't really use them because he's not in a draft pack.
No, he's
No.
not. And Dylan Gray's going to send it up the inside once again for the lead, just up ahead of this. So Gray will once again resume the lead, but the run coming from the top side of the track, and Cade Donnelly's got a decision to make. Who does he support here? If the whole pack goes with the inside, Dylan Gray is going to peel off. So first of the lead pack of cars to run down pit lane on their own. Lap 26 was the last time these guys pit. I'm wondering whether or not Gray's gone, you know, I'm out of tyre. I'm going to come in. I'm going to grab some fresh rubber. We'll see what we can do. He's got no support. There's one car. One car comes with him.
Yeah, Christopher Finley coming in. So that's one of the sim boys coming into pit lane. So yeah, it must be tyre related. They've decided, look, tyres are starting to feel a little bit rough. Maybe they're getting a warning from the old spotter just saying, look, mate, your tyres, they're not doing very well. They're about to explode. You might want to look at coming in. Will we see a puncture happen? I mean, these are all things that could happen, of course. As you said, these cars are quite hard on their tyres, and these drivers have been absolutely pushing it. So if we start to see people at this
still going
stage,
so well.
that's it. The only thing I can think is they're worried about tyres, and maybe they've got a warning up about their tyre being a little bit on the ropey side. I know that I think the iRacing spotter does tell you if your tyre is
Below 50%, and then you get a 5-lap warning.
Yeah, that's it. So I wonder if they've got the warning and they're just coming in just to be safe, and then you've got drivers out there who are hanging it out. But those drivers out there, they could be really playing with fire, because if that tyre blows, especially mid-corner where it's most likely going to go, then that is going to cost them an enormous amount of time, but then it will allow the other people to pit under caution, of course. But it could really cost you the race, because if you spin out, if you have a big wreck, it can be very painful indeed. So it'll be interesting to see how this one plays out. The other thing as well, of course, is when your tyres are that low and when they are on that verge of bursting, when you're coming into pit lane, especially for a green flag stop, chances are your tyre is actually going to go under braking, and you're most likely going to overshoot the marker because you're going to be speeding in pit lane, because it's very hard to slow a car down when it's only got 3 tyres on it, unless it's a free-wheeled car.
How many laps will these guys catch him? Because I think that's a very important part, is if he goes a lap down, that's going to make a big difference. He's already losing time on track.
Yeah, so at the moment, last time round, well, he's actually faster. Dylan Gray was a 52.9, so he's got speed, so I'll keep an eye on that one. So he's actually able to go faster than the guys than the leaders. The leaders last time round was a 53.2. Dylan Gray was sorry, no, I was looking at the best time, sorry. That's completely wrong. So 53.7.
Yeah,
so 53.7.
Oh,
so yeah,
five.
about 2-3 tenths. Yeah.
Yeah, but Gray is still a long way back from the next traffic. The next car in the queue that he might catch will be Brian Trezise, and Trezise has got a fair bit of damage to the front end of that car. Last time by 56.6, so that is not on pace. So curious strategies. Keep your eye on that number on the right-hand side. Plus 45.4. That's the critical number. Now, the other crucial factor here is that nobody's actually mega pushing Darren McKenzie. That's the benefit of being a draft pack. You want a car hooked up to your rear bumper to go faster, but they're not doing that. Why? They just want to protect things, look after a little bit more fuel than that, and Darren McKenzie was squabbling over the lead of that pack for a fair while, and now he's sort of been hung out to dry. He's in control of the fuel burn for this lead group.
Shafts in.
Well, pit stop's starting to come thick and fast at this point in time, so that says to me that is definitely tyres.
The leaders will catch him in around about 10 to 11 laps at this current pace, I'd say. So Dylan Gray's got about 10 or 11 laps before he gets caught by the leaders, by my very quick, rough calculation.
Do they have 10 or 11 laps left in them for both fuel and tyres is the question. They're on 19 laps of fuel right now.
Exactly, and if people are really struggling for tyres, then they might have to come in a little bit quicker. So he might be in a okay spot, but he's going to be losing time, of course, and he's going to be dropping off of this group just a little bit, and that's going to hurt him in the long run, because he's going to end up when all the leaders pit, of course, he's going to end up away from them, so it's going to break it up. If a caution flag comes though, then he could be in a much better position because he'll be able to come down pit lane and spend a little bit less time stationary than the rest of the guys.
This is going to sound a little bit cruel, but do you think he's ever had to pay the fuel bill? Because right now he's out there and he's burning on his own. He's starting to make up time on Brian Trezise, so he will grab a draft this time by. Keep an eye on Brad Fenley back in the pack. There you go, Brian Trezise on screen. Dylan Gray, like I said, Gray has got a clean car. Trezise does not, so that's why Trezise is going to let that one go. So draft support received, draft support ended. Now he's going to go hunting for that next car. 6.5 seconds up the road is Darren Johnson and P29 multiple laps down.
I think there's a couple of endurance races where you actually have to. I think the N24 is one of them actually, where you actually have to drive in to go to a special area to get fuel, of course. So some of the drivers actually have to pay at the pumps. There is a certain endurance race where you actually have to pay at the pump as the driver. So I'm trying to think which one. I think it's in Spain or something like that. But effectively, the drivers have to pay at the pump, which is a great way to make drivers not want to burn fuel because they do not like spending money, racing drivers.
Well, and then more incentive to be the quickest driver, such that they throw you in the car at the end of the day, and well, you don't have to fill it up at the end of the day.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you're always the driver that goes for that final stint, you know. You can always tell the cheapskate that way. But we got some good racing out on track. It is Darren McKenzie in the lead at the moment. Cody Donnelly and Craig Rothie both sticking in very close behind him at the moment. Rothie just getting a little bit wobbly in the draft as it stands. Then it's a bit broken up behind. There's a few passes position going on as we look down the field, but it's getting more and more broken up. And as these green flag stops happen, as this race unfolds, and the longer we go without a caution, the more it's going to split up as we see Todd Maxfield next to come into pit lane. So yeah, a lot of different strategies at play here, and I wonder when the leaders will come down pit road and get this stop done, because their tyres must be getting to the edge of their lives, and I imagine they're going to be getting down to canvas shortly.
Brian Trezise is right in front of the lead pack at this point in time. Lead pack are going to go filing on by. So Trezise will lose his position on the lead lap. And up the road, Dylan Gray continues his charge to maintain his position on the lead lap. Interesting to note, keep an eye on Warwick Sharp's progress throughout the field as well. I believe that he's gone backwards within the pack. Fresh tyres received, full tank of fuel on board, but he is now down over a lap. He was battling for things in the very early running of things, now over a lap down, and that's going to be critical. And look at that, that's Raymond Jaeger. Jaeger is looking at that and going, yes, please, I'll have a driver on fresh tyres to work with.
Yeah, that is really useful to have just sitting in the draft there and playing around with it, but it's interesting to see the different strategies going on, and it's really I'm fascinated how this race is going to play out, as we're only on lap 49. We've still got 111 laps remaining here tonight, folks.
It's interesting though that I don't know whether this is actually strategy. I think this is forced strategy from a few people, because it has to be tyre related, that the fact that these cars are getting too hard to handle to be coming in, because that's not a very good spot to put yourself in, is out of a lead pack with Dylan Gray there. So
no, it's definitely it would be an odd call to make. Sort of the longer you can go, the better you are, of course, because it gives you more options laterally in the race as well. You know, theoretically, these guys, they're on lap 24 now, so they've got about 5 laps of fuel left in them.
Barry Neal has worked his way up into 4th now. That is an extremely good effort from Ray.
Yeah, he's been working his way through the field nicely. I mean, Gary Wellman's made up 29 positions in this race as well. Gary Wellman's sitting in 4th at the moment, started 34th. He has done a great job of working his way through the pack. But Barry Neal sort of dropped down and has sort of been lurking and just sort of dropped back, got 4s, dropped back, got 4s. And he is... I feel like Barry Neal has just been playing with that car and working it well.
Still doing 52, sub 53 second laps.
Well, he just set the fastest lap of the race then.
Yeah. That's
so
how
he has
the
got some
draft has
speed.
worked into his lap pace.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, that's classical Barry Neal right there. I mean, he's the sort of driver. I remember a Kentucky race. Oh, I want to say about 8 months ago, from Barry Neal, where he just went gangbusters at the start of the race, and nobody went with him. And it wasn't until about half, 3/4 of the way through the race that Barry's gone, oh, I'm out of tires. There's nothing I can do here. And to me, Barry likes those kinds of races where he just gets out there, he gets into the throttle, and he just goes for it. So this is a different side to Barry Neal that we're seeing at the moment. Adam Malone's going to start to cycle down through pit lane, so we're going to start to see it. I think this fuel run has run its course and starting to come to the end. This will be 26 laps since that caution, 26 laps of full throttle racing. So numbers not playing the way that a few of these guys might like. This might be another 4-stop for Adam.
Yeah, of course. In the stops,
He just drove through pit lane. That's a penalty. Or 4.
Drive through. That's an incident point penalty.
But I don't see him making
12x.
Must have. There's a bit of damage on that car. The only thing I can think is maybe brushing the wall or something like that.
That's usually only 0x, so that's bizarre.
Yeah.
Well,
that's 3 hits
Adam
of another
Malone,
car.
Adam Malone was involved in that very first caution of the night.
Yeah, he's made contact. He has got some damage on the front of that car. My instant count's not really working as it should do.
That also means he's got 5 incident points to play with to the end of the race, or sub 5.
But fascinating. He must just have been gently just tapping the wall on a couple of times, and that's brought him to 12x's. That's the only thing I
Either
think.
that or he completely missed his pit box.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Completely missed his pit box, but he has gone round for another lap, so he's not really. He's not come into pit lane again. So you'd think if it was missing the pit box, he would have decided to come through again. So yeah, odd one, that one. Joys of sim racing. We need a reporter down in pit lane sometimes to give us information, but that's not an easy thing to do sometimes in sim racing. Meanwhile, Darren McKenzie still leading away for the Southern Stars entry, having a very good lead at the moment over the sim boys of Cade Donnelly. Then it's Craig Robbie in the Gentleman Sim Racing Club entry there behind him.
I mean, that's the middle split racing car.
Middle split, yeah, that's one.
Close enough. They're close. They're out of the same location. It's just a difference.
Barry Neal for the team that I can't pronounce. Ayatora. And one day I will pronounce it properly, and I do apologise to the whole of New Zealand and to Barry Neal for that one. And of course, Sim Boys Gary Robin rounding out the top 5 at the moment.
Well, race starting to settle into its middle points. We're about 25 laps from halfway at this point in time. Raymond Jaeger has moved his way up to 7th position after qualifying P3, cycled all the way towards the tail end of the field with early double stops trying to get that fuel advantage. He's now in the middle of this pack. Fuel was neutralized at lap 26 caution. That's what you've missed so far.
Oh, here we go.
Cars are involved in that one.
Brian Chazier and Tristan Koch in pit lane at the moment. So the one that's really on the main lap was Jai Schultz there. So he's got in. Just keep. Yeah, so you see there the leaders just flying past in the background. So none of them coming in just yet. And they are on lap 30 now of this stint. So they are on the critical point. So they are going to be running close to fumes now. So I imagine that they are going to be stopping at least in 1 or 2 laps. So they are going to be very close to stopping, and this is good news for Dylan Gray, who has managed to keep it out in front of them. So he's still on the lead lap, Dylan Gray. He's the last car on the lead lap, but he has managed to keep it on the lead lap. And these guys are going to have to be stationary for a lot longer than he was. So he might...
Oh, D-Mac just said he's coming in this lap. So Darren McKenzie is going to pit from the race lead. This race is about to blow itself wide open. If you have been watching in the background, time to focus up. Darren McKenzie slots it into pit lane, and the first elite pack, he was the one that led the most laps out of this pack, bar Dylan Gray. So now it's going to be Donnelly versus Ruffy. Barry Neal, Gary Wellman, Aiden Schultz. They're your new adjusted top 5. Who will be the next to blink?
Well, you've got 2 cars in the lead pack in the same team who are making a bit of a sandwich at the moment in Sim Boys. I reckon that Donnelly, Ruffy, Neal and Wellman will be in this lap. I reckon they're going to come in this lap. And that will keep that pack nice and together because obviously breaking that pack up is just going to hurt when you get back out there. So I wonder if they're all going to try and come in together or if we'll see them just trickle in, and that could affect it a little bit. How is Mackenzie's stop going to go? That is, of course, one of the big questions.
So a long stop too, don't forget that.
It is. And that's one of the things, is he's just coming out now, so he's just got a lap down. So Darren McKenzie's just got past, so he is now a lap down. So that's how much time he lost in pit lane.
Aiden Schultz is in.
And Malone is coming back in again. So Adam Malone will be back into pit lane this time by. So if you guys starting to make their cycles through, it's critical now to make sure that you get on the anchors as late as possible, but not so late that when you cross that timing line, you are above the pit lane speed limit. I believe here
pit box.
It's 72 kilometers an hour, and Aiden Schultz has missed the box. That's going to cost him crucial time when he was just starting to look like he was going forward.
Yeah, those crucial couple of seconds as Donnelly keeps it out for another lap. So this is the 33rd lap. Of course, that couple of laps under caution helps out a little bit, helps the old fuel mileage.
That was Raymond Jaeger in?
Justin Witcher coming into pit lane. Jaeger sticking it out there at the moment. So Witcher, Pritchard, Fenley coming into pit lane. So it's interesting there. I'll tell you what's interesting though. Dylan Gray, when he came in, of course, he managed to stay on the lead lap.
Also ahead of Darren McKenzie right now.
Yeah, he's going to be ahead of McKenzie, but
he's going to be a long way ahead of McKenzie.
Yeah, but he's going to be a long way ahead of a lot of these guys. He's going to effectively become the race leader when all of these people pit.
And here comes Kate Donnelly, actually. This is crucial. So Donnelly's now in the pit lane. Craig Ruffy's got another lap. Barry Neal has gone in. Gary Wellman's gone in. So Ruffy has gone the longest of this mob. He's going to go to the 35-lap fuel distance at this point.
I'm just having a listen on board at the moment. Just seeing if he's lifting at all or anything like that.
Well, he can't now. It's too late. You've got to go full noise.
Well, it depends how much fuel you've got, I guess. But it sounds like he is pretty confident on fuel at the moment, so I reckon he'll be coming in this lap. Raymond Jaeger as well, sticking it out there for 34 laps. So 2 drivers managing to get really good fuel mileage, and making that extra lap could be crucial for later in this race. So interesting to see how these strategies play off as Ruffy indeed comes into pit lane.
Yep, so he is in. Oh, big squiggle, big rock up. And I think he's got away with that one. I think he's going to be okay.
He just about made that one in. And Raymond Jaeger as well coming into pit lane as well. Gets it into pit lane, gets it slowed down, pit limiter on, and away they go. So this will mean...
heart and mouth moment for Craig Ruffy.
Very much so. Where is Dylan Gray?
He's just about to take the lead once he comes around this final corner. But he's got so much less fuel, he's got to do a longer stop towards the end.
Yes,
now, caution
exactly.
will hurt him.
Well, no. A caution would actually work in his favour at this point in time, because right now, this whole pack is going to be broken up. This rate, you're going to end up with a whole bunch of cars all off on their own. I tell you what, Dylan Gray is about 13 seconds clear of Cade Donnelly. 12, 13 seconds clear of Cade Donnelly, and that is going to be the lead pack.
So, we have seen cars go, 33 laps. So Dylan Gray has currently done 20 laps, and I imagine he probably filled it to the top. He probably filled it up as much as he could in that stop because he came in earlier, of course. Will he come in early again and play the... Just try it again? Because this worked out perfectly for him, because what I was talking about is the fact he was stationary for a lot shorter time. So he was stationary for only 17 seconds in pit lane. Kate Donnelly, 34 seconds. So he gained an awful lot of time in that pit stop because he had to take less fuel. Those other guys, of course, have filled up their tanks now, but they were stationary for a lot longer, and they also effectively went down a lap on each other. So they lost a lot of time. If Dylan Gray comes in now and fills up a tank again, say, and is stationary for another 17 seconds, yes, he'll drop to the back or towards the back of this pack again, but he won't fall a lap down, which is a crucial part for this if a caution does come out.
If a caution comes out now, well, I mean, do you come back down and splash if you're one of these leaders? Because all of a sudden you make Dylan Gray look like an absolute champion.
Well, I mean, absolutely you would come in and splash, because Dylan Gray is going to be stationary for much longer.
Yes,
it would be well worth doing it. So there are a couple of other people to sort of similar strategies to Dylan Gray. So Jared Daly, Christopher Finlay, they're sort of running a similar strategy. They've sort of similar times they stopped with Dylan Gray, and they've made up a fair few positions. They're currently sitting in 7th and 8th at the moment, so it's working. But of course, you have to now back time it. You now have to work backwards to the race finish. We've got 97 laps remaining. We know that you can do about 30 to 33 laps, and obviously that was with a caution. So if we say 31 laps just to be safe, you've got to make it to at least you've got to make it at least about 4 or 5 more laps to be able to make it home on 3 more stops. So you've now got to try and work that out. And this is one of the hard things of sim racing, is you're effectively doing the strategy yourself. And that's one of the tough things for sim racing drivers, is you're working out your own strategy as you race.
Big complications right now. The lead pack the second place pack, as Dylan Gray is the lead pack of 1, trying to bubble their way past the lap car at this point in time. Darren Johnson it's Brian Trezise making a little bit of an obstacle for the leaders, an obstacle they were not enjoying navigating, and that has broken this pack up. You had Darren McKenzie shoving his nose into the lead on Kate Donnelly. Now he's scrapping to hang on to 3rd.
I was about to say that Gray's lead was actually dropping down to almost 12 seconds. They were eating right into it, but that's just pointed back out to 14 seconds again. Oh wow.
The big ooze in the commentary booth. You can tell when something happens. Craig Roffey, Darren McKenzie getting very close to each other. This is getting a bit spicy, and this is definitely heating up. This little battle is getting very hot indeed.
Well, keep your eyes peeled on this one. Donnelly's finally starting to show a clean pair of heels. McKenzie's got a responsibility to try and go with him. Ruffy will opt to slot in. So I believe that is Craig Ruffy using a little bit of the old noggin to line that one up nice and perfectly. Oh, right up and against the barriers as well. So that's critical. Warwick Sharp now was running quite high up in the early portions of things. Was one of those guys who did stop early. Now one of those guys not running so high up. Has not been a great night so far for Warwick Sharp. Coming early for tyres, and it did not pay out.
Ruben Phelps will be coming in shortly. He's getting towards the end of his stint. Dylan Gray won't have. We'll have about 3 or 4 more laps of fuel left. About 5 more laps of fuel left in him. But we'll see Ruben Phelps coming down pit lane probably in the next 2 to 3 laps, I'd say. So he's desperately trying to keep on that 1 lap down, just keeping that lucky dog spot, of course, just in case a caution flag does fly. But this battle for 2nd place at the moment is really heating up. Dylan Gray, of course, effective leader, but he will be pitting short.
Ruffy just caught the fence! Ruffy just caught the fence in turn number 1!
Big impact there, and that is going to hurt a lot. A lot of damage on the front right corner of Ruffy now, and that can really hurt the aero. So if he gets stuck out there without anybody in front of him, it's going to hurt. And they're 3 wide at the moment. Barry Neal getting the opportunity. It is Neil, Wellman, and Ruffy on the outside. Ruffy's trying to keep it there, but that damage on the front end is going to effectively act like a parachute and slow him down as he's the leading car trying to crash through that air, and that is going to hurt him an enormous amount. You can see Barry Neal just getting past now. Roffy really needs to try and slot in behind Neil here. Keep Wellman at bay, but Wellman is doing his best to get into position right now. Look at Wellman getting a good run here, trying to force his way past Roffy. Roffy unable to hold on. He's going to have to try and slot in behind Wellman here. But get very close to Roffy into the wall again.
Yeah, that's twice. 2 times, 2 laps in a row in the exact same spot. Gerard Daly says, yes, yes, please come here. I'll have a little bit more of that. Why don't you? Thank you. And all of a sudden, Craig Roffey's night has gone from master to disaster.
Yeah, that is painful, and that's really going to hurt now. And that is going to start building up as well, of course. It's not much damage, but any aero damage here in Indianapolis, of course, it's a very fast track. And, of course, front-end aero damage, it slows the car down an enormous amount, and you can lose a good 3 to 5 kilometers per hour with just that little bit of crinkling.
And not only that, it's going to start to wear tyres out much more, and I'm wondering whether or not Roffey hung onto a spare set, and that might have caused the issues that he was having towards the top end of town. So, well, all of a sudden, Craig Roffey, on what I believe is his debut in this series, was running towards the top end of town, having a great night, and all of a sudden not so, and that's not quite like Craig Roffey. Quite an exceptional V8 supercar driver when it comes to the road courses, and I believe you'll see a little bit of that throughout the season.
Well, that's it. It's a very different style of racing, though, of course, on an oval, and this is a thing that can catch people out that little bit, is especially at this stage, you know, we've done 69 laps, of course. The magic 9, the caution is out. We've got a caution flag.
Sorry, I was watching Dylan Gray. Just finally, he's got massive damage down the right-hand side of his car, too.
Brian Trezez has absolutely gone out of this race. He has had a big moment as he's got caught up with one of the pinnacle cars of Justin Witcher. And did you say Dylan Gray got damage?
Dylan Gray has damage down the driver's side.
Oh, he caught the fence on his own in turn 1 at the same time. I just watched it back.
Oh, that is disastrous for Gray.
And he just ran onto the group ahead of him, like a lapped group that was going to get in the draft. He was actually opening it up, and he just lost it at the same time the caution came out. Oh, he's had a bit of a hit from Pinnacle. There we go, into the fence. Brad.
Yeah, so with Trezier, he got contact from Justin Witcher, I believe it was. And just that little bit of contact as they were trying to get past, and up into the wall he goes, and that's a lot of damage. So that really hurt out. Dylan Gray, as you said, a bit of damage down the side. Oh, there's not much damage to the front though, so he's got some damage to the right rear and the right side of the car. How much will that affect him? But this caution has come out at exactly the right time for him for pit strategy. It was almost a godsend in pit strategy wise, but
well, neutralise the field.
Yeah, it's neutralised the field. It's sort of it's hard to say if this is actually good or bad for him, really. But he will be able to come in. Everybody else will come in as well. He'll be stationary for a lot longer. This kind of ruins his strategy a bit. So we're on lap 70. We've got 90 laps remaining. So this kind of splits the race into 3 stops now.
Did you say stage racing? I love myself some stage racing.
I know, I at this stage. I said at this stage of the race. Not stage racing. I hate stage racing. Stage racing can burn in lots and lots of fire because it is way too complicated and annoying. But Dylan Gray coming into pit lane, so he's going to lead this group in. He'll be stationary for a lot longer. Darren McKenzie's probably going to lose a lot of time. You can see just the carnage now of all these cars coming down pit lane. Darren McKenzie, he will have to be stationary for a bit longer if he wants to have the same amount of fuel as the leaders, but will he do that? Of course, that's the question. So how much fuel are people going to take? Will they take a full tank? Will they take half a tank and try a different strategy out, or will they just well, there's so many different options you can play with right now.
You can go 2 stops to the end from here with 30 laps a stint.
Yes,
so we're right on the 2-stop bubble, which is really handy for a lot of them.
Well, Ruffy is opting to take the damage repairs at this point in time. He is still sitting there, so he's going to try and come back out here with a brand spanking new, or as close to as you possibly can, car. So I can see a few bumps and scrapes starting to work their way out. The race off pit road is going to go to Cade Donnelly, and it's been a strong race off of pit road for him tonight. He's been quite quick through the lane. About the only guy to beat him off pit road was Craig Ruffy, and, well, no longer a part of that one.
We've got 90 laps remaining?
Yes, 90
That's
laps
it.
remaining,
Yep.
yes.
90 laps remaining.
Just
And
looking
again,
there, you got Dylan Gray's pit stop time, 33 seconds versus Cade Donnelly's 14 seconds. There's 15. Nope, that's 19 seconds he's lost in the pits because of the caution there. It's roughly only 10 spots, but you know he had a 14-second lead before this. So
Yeah, and that's taking on that extra fuel. He would have got some damage repairs done as well, so that's something too. He would have been able to get some damage repairs, a little bit of 100-mile-per-hour tape slapped on the side of that car. But it's it's quite costly. Darren McKenzie, he was stationary for about 3 seconds longer than the rest of the leaders. So he lost, he's down at P4 at the moment, so he didn't lose too much time, luckily.
he pitted those couple of stops early. That's a couple of early, yeah.
That's it. So it's changed things up a little bit, but some of the big gainers are the Pinnacle boys, because you've got Raymond Jaeger, Justin Witcher up there, and I believe Greg Spencer as well. So Pinnacle have been slowly working their way through the field, mooching their way up here and getting up to this position. One of the people this does work out well for, though, I believe, will be Ruben Phelps,
Raymond,
who I think might finally get the lucky dog. But I'm just trying to look at that one. He might have just missed out, unfortunately.
No, I'm going to say he's hauling to get around the track at this point in time. We'll find out in a moment. He's gone from 2 laps down by the look of things back to 1 lap down. So he did get the lucky dog, Bork.
Yeah, so we are getting ready, though, to go back to green flag racing. There are a few cars absolutely trying to get onto the back of the pack. Craig Ruffy is one of those. Craig Ruffy, Reese May, Aaron Bryan, Jai Schultz, they are all desperately trying to get onto the back of this pack as they are about to go green.
I'll just make it.
Are just about to catch it. So, yeah, it's very much so. But they'll probably have a little bit of extra heat in those tyres, and especially the brakes as well, because they'd have had to slam them on just to slow down as they caught to the rear of this pack. But we are about to go green once again. It's Cade Donnelly leading away here for the Australasian Supercar Series, eSeries, I should say, here on Locked On Lads TV, brought to you by My Private Seller, Edge Setup Shops, Witcher Electrics, and Hot Toddy Heating Installations. And it is Cade Donnelly leading away here for the first round of the season. We've got 87 laps remaining. We're on lap 73, and we're back to green flag racing.
Well, if that hasn't fired you up for the tail end of this race, I don't think much more can really happen that will do so. Strategies have now been neutralized again. Who's been best on fuel? Who's been best on tires? Couple questions have been asked of our drivers. Couple questions have now been answered. The guys at the front are ready to go racing once again, and it's going to be a race for who controls it, but it's all comes down to who's the last one to complete their last stop.
Oh, there we go.
Oh, contact! Darren McKenzie and Raymond Jaeger just making a slight little bit of contact mid-corner. McKenzie did a great job of saving that one. Just a tiny bit of contact. He was sideways at 254 kilometers per hour and managed to save that mid-slide. Beautiful job there.
How do you keep that out of the fence? How do you keep that out of the fence? Talent, experience, and skill. That is some serious skill. Well, the only thing that Darren McKenzie will be complaining about is that'll burn off a few percentage of those tyres.
That's it. But
the reeds are fine. You'll be right.
It looks good on the broadcast. It gets the sponsors happy. So yeah, that goes on the highlights reel. So you know, it's good for sponsorship. But yeah,
let's stamp and send it.
as Mackenzie gets a good run on Gary Wellman. Gets passed through absolutely on a charge there in the Southern Stars entry, and Raymond Jaeger's decided he's going to do the same thing. He has got Justin Witcher just behind him as well. So there are people starting to make moves here now as Gary Wellman gets a bit loose on the outside. We have got a new leader of the race as well. Barry Neal is in the lead of the race. He has managed to get past Kay Donnelly in the Ayatura Racing entry, and he is in the lead at the moment. Barry Neal, the 22 car, having a great run and working his way nicely back through the field after dropping back. But look at the speed of Darren McKenzie. He's got the slingshot and he is going for the lead right now. Barry Neal drops down just to cover him off, does a beautiful job of defending there, cuts off that slingshot, takes away the momentum, and Barry Neal is going to keep in the lead for a few more metres at least.
Well, Barry Neal, well, it might be a few more meters at this point in time. Darren McKenzie has other ideas. Starts side drafting, and McKenzie's going to cross the start-finish line with the race lead once again. They are just about even, 1/1000th of a second in it. I've got flashbacks. I got flashbacks to Chicagoland, Carl.
Those Chicagoland flashbacks. You got that fan above your head and you just go, Chicagoland, still in Chicagoland. Great racing here though. Barry Neal now taking the opportunity to do the slingshot again. He's getting past Mackenzie. He's taking this opportunity and look at behind him is Kate Donnelly. He's decided, yep, I'm going to follow this one. And this is going to push Mackenzie out on that high line. Mackenzie gets caught up on the high line. He's got Kate Donnelly on the inside. And he is going to lose a position here. He's going to lose 2 positions. He went from leading the race to being in 3rd. He's going to get a good bit of draft from Barry Neal now.
Barry Neal opting to play favourites with Kate Donnelly. Well, there you go. That's a little bit of a story yet to be told. Opens up the corner once again, and this is going to stack them up, rack them up, and you get the feeling that there's a little bit of blood in the water for these guys at this point in time. Wellman and Jaeger are now starting to go head-to-head in behind these guys. The motor race has come alive. Maybe that caution was the best thing to happen.
It has brought this race. Oh, gosh, some real close stuff a little bit further back. I saw a couple of the Pinnacle cars as well as Aiden Schultz just all over the race, just avoiding each other there, just having a big moment. But what Barry Neal's done, very good bit of driving, is he kind of pitted Mackenzie and Donnelly off against each other, broke the momentum of both of them and started making them race each other, and now he's pulling out a bit of a gap. He's got about 0.8 of a second. He's almost got a second lead now. Really smart driving there from Barry Neal. Very well done to break their draft and cause them to race each other. And now you've got some battles going on behind them. So if Barry Neal can actually force these guys to race each other, he could possibly pull out a bit of a lead here. And if he can position his car as well as he did the last time round, just keeping it in the middle of the track so neither car could get past him, he will be in a good spot. But right now Donnelly's got a great bit of draft going along, getting sucked along behind him up to 295 kilometers per hour. He is really all over the back of Neal, really trying to push him along, really trying to get past him. But Neal is saying no to that. A little bit further back, we've got great racing going on as well. It looks like Aiden Schultz and who was it? It was.
Here it goes! Here it goes once again at the front end of town. Darren McKenzie back to the inside, lines up Kate Donnelly, lines up Barry Neal, and he is going to try and grab both of them all at once.
He is trying, but again, Neal just positions that car, just trying to chop off Mackenzie's momentum a little bit, and it's just stalled that car's momentum again. Mackenzie has to fall in behind him once more, get back in the draft, get that speed up, and now he's able to get that slingshot and fly past Barry Neal.
How long do you sit in mind and wait? How long do you have to be patient? Kate Donnelly's starting to get racy. He wants to push on with this thing. Gary Wellman's in the picture once again. Aiden Schultz is up to, I believe, his race high of 5th position at this point in time. Justin Witchner is now starting to push his way forward. Greg Spencer's come a long way through the pack. It's the regulars starting to show their way at the front end of town, and I tell you what, when they come to play, they do not hold back. And now, once again, Mackenzie gets the lead across the line, and Neal sends it to the inside.
I'm just looking a little bit further back. Nicholas Walsh is really pushing hard as well. There's a lot of racing going on in the mid-pack. as Walsh almost goes up into the wall. He manages to save it. He's got Nigel Patton just got in front of him, and Peter Madison just behind him at the moment. There's some great racing going on all throughout the field. This is what we love.
Here it comes. Here it comes, that move for the race lead once again. Neil down on Mackenzie. Mackenzie might have to see this one. No, Neil washes up, washes off all that momentum, and Mackenzie hangs on to it around the outside. Now here comes Aidan Schultz. Schultz is starting to show a little bit of momentum. He's managed to clear Gary Wellman and get into 5th on this last lap. Now he wants to go fighting toe-to-toe at the front.
I was about to say, watch out for Schultz. He is getting an absolutely momentous run, and if he can link it up with Darren McKenzie, it will be quite useful indeed. They are not the same team, but they are sister teams. So that will be very useful indeed if they can link it up with each other. Oh wait, no, sorry, they are the same team. Sorry, they are the Southern Stars. It's tricky sometimes when you have sister teams.
It's
always
tricky when you got 3 in a team as well, Carl. We're not used to this.
I know. It makes it all too hard as Barry Neal once again gets a good run on Mackenzie, getting his way, sneaking his way back past up into the lead. But Mackenzie again will get that run off the corner. If he can get that run down the start-finish straight, he will get back to the lead. And this is what we love about the Australasian eSeries, is this great nose-to-tail racing. It is so close, and it has been like this all race long. 82 laps, we've gone half distance now, and they are still nose-to-tail. As beautiful run from Neil there. Craig Donnelly thought he was going to be able to make the run, had to check up a little bit, and that slowed down Aidan Schultz. Darren McKenzie just got the mega launch there. It was almost like he went out from a catapult.
Well, I'll tell you my favourite fact of the race at this point in time. P1, 2, 3, 4, 5, Ford Mustang GT. It's not back to Justin Witcher that you have to go for the first Holden, and then Raymond Jaeger alongside of him in P6 and P7. So it's dominated the top 10 by the Mustangs. Of the top 10, there's only 3 Holdens.
They're just galloping away with it at the moment, aren't they?
Well, somebody should really settle those Mustangs down. It's almost like the world's most popular touring car is good for a reason.
Wilco is just sitting there in disgust at my joke.
Where's the shut stream down button? I can't find it. Sorry, we're not.
Debris on track.
Oh, Wilkinson with has been banned.
Have we gotten over that yet? Is it too soon still?
Too soon.
Up front, Mackenzie has got a really good run. He has got a good lead over Barry Neal at the moment.
You've been going on about Ruben Phelps. First one to let you up. He's just come out of the pits. He's out 2 laps out again. I don't know what he's doing.
Is Ruben going for the record for most pit stops to finish a race?
I've only done 4 stops though. That's the weird thing for me, is I don't know what's.
He doesn't like stopping under caution, obviously.
Yeah, it's bizarre. As I said, I can't really figure out what's happened. No, I'm trying to figure out this strategy, and it's eluding me. It really is eluding me at the moment.
We're going to change the lead yet again. These guys just think it's a 90-lap race. We're in position for there's still 70 to go, boys. 75 to go. Hold on.
That's the most laps led points.
Tell them that.
Yeah, they want to have the most laps led. They are eager for that little badge of them. As
look at them get stacked up.
They are really getting caught up, and this is going to be great for Kate Donnelly. Goes down the inside.
Okay,
It says contact, and we're going to get a big wreck at the front. Mackenzie gets caught up in that, and it's
no caution.
No caution. It has remained green.
Unless he gets collected here, but he's got lots of damage. There's lots of damage there. He can't hold that straight.
No, there is a lot of cars caught up in that.
And who's going in pits in front of him? That's
Dylan Gray's coming in pit lane.
That's interesting as well. He wasn't caught up in that.
No, I think he's out of tyres again.
I'm trying to figure out.
He's out of tyres. I guarantee you he's out of tyres.
Yeah, so Barry Neal sort of ping-ponged into Craig Donnelly, unfortunately, and then gone up into Darren McKenzie, and then there was a whole load of avoidance going on. So I'm just going back to figure out if anybody else got really damaged in that one. I think everybody else made it through relatively cleanly.
I'll try and catch it on a replay here. Now I've just got over all that.
Look, I had fun. They had fun. We all had fun. Let's watch it back again.
Okay, so
So watch here. So we'll see Barry Neal just get caught here, goes into the corner, and then I think you can see there Darren McKenzie just made a little bit of contact with Barry Neal, and that's pushed him down into Kay Donnelly, and then it's bounced him back up into McKenzie, and then McKenzie's gone into the wall, heavy impact into the wall, but luckily everybody managed to avoid the incident behind him. I do not know how, because I was expecting the caution flag to come out. That's why I was sort of went a bit quiet for a couple of seconds there, because I was expecting the caution so I could actually make heads and tails of that without having to do it under green flag racing. But great avoidance action, because look at how close that was to being a huge wreck for a few of those cars. If Darren McKenzie had not straightened it up, again, great driving by McKenzie to keep that straight.
that edge
Great
car,
avoidance by
it's a
Emily.
lot of grass to get around him.
Yeah, great avoidance by drivers as well to get around him. They really did a good job to save that one, because
We better
yeah,
get
that
back
was
to the race. Hayden Schultz now leading the race.
Do we have to? Can we keep breaking that one down? Because that was an amazing accident with amazing driving to prevent it from becoming a bigger thing. And in the end, we've still got a motor race to commentate.
yeah.
I
still
forgot we
have
weren't
race.
under yellow. We're actually
Yeah,
green,
as I said,
green
as I
racing.
said, I thought that the yellow was sure to come out with that, and that's I'm busy just trying to dissect it all, and there was no caution flags coming out at all.
And in the middle of that, we haven't talked about properly. Dylan Gray's just come into the pits again. He's now just off the
That'll be a
start.
speeding penalty.
Yeah, that will be for a penalty.
No,
that one.
sorry, no. I'm talking about when he went in with the incident.
Yeah. Oh yeah, we did mention that he came.
Yeah,
was
but we
coming
didn't
in.
go into it in more detail. Like he's
No, so
once again the
he's
last
come in-
lap on the last car on the lead lap.
yeah, so Dylan Gray is doing what he did last time. So he's coming in now to take a little bit of fuel, so he doesn't drop a lap. So he's still on the lead lap technically. He is ahead of the leaders still, not by much, but he is ahead of the leaders. So he's just come in for a splash of fuel just to get that little bit of extra fuel on board, so he can go a little bit longer in this stint, and then when everybody comes in to top up their tanks fully, that lead pack will go down a lot further, and then he'll have about 17 odd seconds on the leaders. So that's what he's trying. He's trying that same strategy that he did the first time round.
The problem I
But you
have
can
is
see-
he still has to stop 2 times, the same as everyone else.
He does, yeah, and there's still 72 laps remaining, so he's got a long way to go. And also, the thing that doesn't help him now is this lead group is a lot closer than they were before, so he's going to have a real tricky time. He's got to really do his best to avoid getting lapped, and hope that he
Look at that.
can just...
He's got damage this time. That's why it's not going to work.
Yeah, and that's going to hurt him as well. So last lap round, it's 53.9 for him.
Was it
Sorry,
56?
53.6, sorry. And the leaders are 53.4, so they're about 2 tenths faster than him. He is currently...
He's about 2.5 seconds ahead, so at that rate, 8 laps they're going to be in his draft, and then strategy over.
That's it. He's going to be caught in around about 8 to 9 laps.
Which is about when they're looking at fueling up as well, which is the only upside to it all. So
it could still work for... Sorry, it could still work for him in some respects. Of course,
except he's
what
got
will
a top
happen is
class
when these...
still.
Well, when these guys come in, of course, they will be stationary for a good 20-odd seconds, 24 seconds. Dylan Gray was only stationary for about 16 seconds, so he's going to gain about 10 seconds on this group. So then he will be sort of kind of back in the lead. It's an interesting strategy to play, and I'm still trying to work out how it's going to work for him. I think he's hoping for another caution possibly, and to just be in the lead pack when the caution flag flies, or
But he has to be at the head of it.
Yeah,
If he's not,
gotta be in
he's not at
front.
the head of the lead pack when that caution flag flies, and so that's timing, and he's in a nightmare. So for those of you who are out there who are listening, well, why we say this is because the order is frozen when that caution flag flies. If he's not ahead of the leader, he goes one lap down and he has to sit there and wait to get his lap back. So any advantage that the strategy gains under yellow flags by being able to maintain that lead lap and then get a free pit stop under the caution, he loses again by being a lap down.
Yeah.
Darren McKenzie is not coming out of the pits, by the way, everyone.
I think his race is run, unfortunately.
Just a point I don't think we've made live on stream yet.
No, he's got a lot of damage. He might be getting some repairs done, but I think he got a lot of...
Dylan Gray's about to get eaten up right now.
It's too late. It's done.
Well,
at this point in time, this might actually play a few games within the pack, because all of a sudden the pack are in the tow. So he has now moved back into that 1 second margin, and here it goes.
The thing is for Dylan Gray now is he'll be on this pack in pit lane. It's about with a proper pit stop, you're stationary for about a minute. So he will come out ahead of these guys. So when they all pit, he will still come out ahead of them because he's going to be able to jump onto this pack and keep with them. So he's going to get the lead, but he's going to have to do an extra stop. So it's kind of it's an odd strategy.
This is what I'm trying to point out, Carl. In 8 laps time, these guys have only got to pit one more time. So yeah, they're pretty much on the same thing, except he's 40 seconds down. So unless there's something else that brought him in, like a tyre popping or something, it's just a very strange strategy.
Having said that, if somebody else had gone with him and there was a team decision to make the same strategy, it would be an excellent strategy play. I 100% would back it in at that point, but they would have to go gangbusters the whole time, and they'd still have a fuel window or a fuel deficit that they would need to gain in terms of time. It's doable at that point, but it takes a lot of work.
Yeah, that's it. It's a really tricky one, and
he hasn't, and now he's lost that lead lap. So any advantage that he may have had in that strategy is now out the window.
Well,
we'll keep an eye on it. We'll keep monitoring it.
He's now managed to slot himself into this pack, so he'll stay with this group. He's going to stick it in with this group now. So when they all pit, he will get back out in the lead, and he'll have a good 5-10 second lead over the rest of them again. But then he'll have to pit again, and
Lose it all.
Yeah, he's going to lose it all. So it's I'm still unsure about this, but it could work out later stages
If it's
of
green
the race.
lap racing, no, I can't justify it.
But the thing is, it doesn't work under caution either. Like it doesn't work in either. So we'll monitor it. We'll put a pin in it.
He's pulling out
We'll
of the draft now
it.
too. He's going right to the back of the pack too. I think he's got some more damage there than we know.
I wonder if he's just pulling to the back to try and stick on the back of this pack to save a bit more fuel.
If he drops that pack, that's every advantage he possibly could have thought.
But he's got the freshest tyres out of the lot of them. So if anyone can do it,
By the way,
tires.
we have Facebook chat. We have Kobe wanting Aiden Schultz to bring it home. And he's doing an absolutely amazing job. Aiden up 11 spots into first place. He can't do better than that.
No, in the lead at the moment. Yeah, that's something else I don't think we mentioned after all of that craziness that happened. Is Aiden Schultz is actually in the lead now, ahead of Kay Donnelly. He slotted in front into the lead of this race now. So yeah, it really changed things up, and three very fast cars really got sort of knocked in that one. Barry Neal, of course, a bit of damage on that car, so that's hurt him a little bit. Cade Donnelly had a little bit of a knock in that one, so he's not got too much damage, but the big one of that group was Darren McKenzie, of course, and that really hurt and took him completely out of the race, but was lucky not to take more cars out because look, great job by everybody to avoid that one, because that would have been a much bigger wreck if he'd got caught into it.
Is Dylan Gray struggling to hold this draft too? I think he is.
There's something more wrong with that car. I think he's hit another wall, and that's what brought him into the pits. That's the only thing I can think of.
There's no more damage on that car than he had before, so I can't see anything.
Justin Witcher and Barry Neal. Someone let them know there's still plenty of laps to go.
No, don't inform them. Don't tell it. Again, stop ruining it. Wilco, this might be your first time here on the Australian Supercars eSeries, but stop ruining the show. Tell them to go at it. Come on, boys.
Very close. Barry Neal just basically just touched the grass there. as Justin Witcher gave he gave a width of the car. It might not have been a Ford Mustang. It may have been a Robin Reliant in width, but it was a car's width. Very, very close there. That was super close action there, and that has really helped Adam Malone now.
I was about to say, this is Adam Malone in the middle of the Pinnacle Sandwich just about. Remember, Adam Malone came through for a stop and drive-through.
He did, yeah. He got his lap back.
Great drive.
On the caution, and has worked his way right back up this pack. And he's also got a bit of damage on that car as well, remember? So
well, he'd have to
really...
with the damage, the incident points list. But he was in that first incident, remember, as well. So
yeah, so really good recovery drive from Adam Malone. And we know Malone's got speed. Meanwhile, Barry Neal's just dropping like a stone at the moment. He has just lost all the pace in that Mustang. The Mustang sponsored by Toyota, of course.
Have a run.
Yeah, Schultz has had to surrender the race lead as Kate Donnelly's now going to send it to the inside, try and get a little bit spicy, get some racing going on, and all of a sudden Aiden Schultz is in a Simboys sandwich, and Simboys don't tend to stay in a sandwich for very long. They'll tend to Simboys send it here in a moment.
Oh, that was terrible, Scotty.
Thanks.
That was terrible. I'm proud of you. I am
all
very proud
complaints
of you.
send to Locked On Lads at Facebook. Just direct message. That'd be great. Thank you. We are 3 laps out from probably this magical window where people want to start the pit. So keep an eye on that pit lane, boys.
And I imagine we've got a Pinnacle coming in. We've got Raymond Jaeger coming in, I believe. Greg Spencer coming in, sorry. Completely the wrong one. I knew it was a Pinnacle car, but completely the wrong car. Greg Spencer is the first to blink. So he's come in, and he will be stationary. Meanwhile, Dylan Gray managed to link himself back onto the back of that group as well. So he is currently sitting a few car lengths behind, but he's sort of up there still. So watch when these guys pit. He will probably get the lead back in this race for at least a little bit of time. Meanwhile, Justin Witcher is on an absolute charge through the field, and he is working his way to the front of this pack as he goes side by side with... is that Aiden Schultz? Yes, it is.
Yep.
Side by side with Aiden Schultz, gets the move done and moves himself up into P3.
Witcher Electric's more like Switchner Electric's on, because he's turned the turbo onto that car.
It's not a competition to see who can do the worst, by the way, boys. It's, there we go. Ryan Barber in chat as well is calling home Schultz as well, so barracking home for Schultz. So everyone's on Aiden Schultz back. Let's go, boys.
Reminder, you have signed on. Carl and I have worked together before.
I'm regretting every decision I've made in my life that's led me to this point right now, yes.
Wellman making a move for the lead at the moment, and it won't be long until Wilco puts us in a private cellar, of course, to lock us away.
Oh, classic.
Oh, here we go. Barry Neal.
We've got Barry Neal in pit lane.
Yep, that is absolute vintage Carl. You might actually put that one in your own My Private Cellar. My Private Cellar. If you need alcohol delivered to your door, My Private Cellar, that's the way to go. Go and have a look at what they've got on offer today. Right, well...
So they're not a real estate agent like you told me they were beforehand. Oh,
no, I thought they were. My Private Cellar or a private auction house. No, My Private Cellar, the thing beneath the house that...
is now in as well.
We've got bump drafting up the front as well between Donnelly and Wellman. Those two are trying to push forwards a little bit, so I imagine they're going to be coming in very shortly.
Thanks, Carl. Thank you for trying to reinstate some sense of racing in this.
I've got to keep up some aspect of it, of course. But yeah, My Private Cellar, of course, they do design wine cellars and wine storage solutions.
That's what it is.
Like that. So yes, that is what they are in for. So if you do,
no one read the brief before we got online, did we? No.
There was a brief.
Excuse me. One of us did. One of us is professional in this booth.
Raymond Jaeger into the pit. Out of
Is it Wilco? Wilco's the professional one.
that's
Raymond
it.
Jaeger's into the pit lane.
We've got somebody silently sitting in the broadcast booth that's not talking, but we can't see. That's the professional person. Reese Mayer's also in. Jamie and Curvis coming in pit lane. So a few guys coming into pit stop, but it is Donnelly and Wellman bump drafting each other at the moment. They are pushing each other forwards. They are trying to build up a bit of a lead here. They are absolutely going hammer and tong at the moment. Really pushing it along, so they are really trying to stretch out a little bit of a lead here so they can get into the pit lane and try and get out in front of people. As we've got more coming into pit lane, it's Aidan Schultz and Adam Malone, so the two teammates coming into pit lane now, so they have pulled the pin. They are coming down pit road, so it is Gary Wellman in the lead, Kate Donnelly, Justin Witcher, those three sticking it out for a bit longer. A lot more people coming in as we've got Todd Maxfield, Nicholas Walsh coming in now as well.
Ruffy almost locks it up big time. Does lock it up big time, avoiding the pit lane penalty.
That is the thing you've got to watch out for, is getting on the brakes at the right time. And it is tricky because these cars, you're not dabbing the brakes as you're going around Indianapolis. You're not getting any heat or temperature into those brakes, of course. And when you get to the brake marker, you all of a sudden put the brakes on, there's no heat in them, and they have a tendency to lock up when they're cold.
Just from the channels, as Gary Wellman, the leaders do come in.
Lane as well as Witcher.
Witcher putting it very sideways coming in as well. But we've got SPS Andy's going for the stars. We've got Troy Davis and Sim Boys are looking strong, and Stevie Hopper wanting to shout out Todd Maxfield for doing a great job being in the top 10, which he is doing a great job of that.
Why aren't you out here, Hobbit? Yeah, I want to see it.
Something I was impressed about in the tail end of the running of last season as well was Top Maxfield seemed to slowly find some form, and he was getting better and better as the season went on, I think. So yeah, I definitely agree with the comment about Maxfield. I think it's a very important point to make, actually.
And this means that Peter Madison is going to take the lead of this race, and he's done a very good stint. He's on lap 33 of this stint, so he has made a really nice long stint out of this one. So he is going to take the lead for the moment and get a lap led under his belt. Dylan Gray, of course, will come through too, and he should be, I think, in the lead once it all shakes out.
I mean, potentially it's just not that simple, is it?
I think Justin Witcher might have just got out ahead of him, so just trying.
Dylan's just got him as Justin's exiting the pits.
Yeah,
there's not much in it.
No, not much in it at all, and it is Dylan. Dylan's just got ahead of him, so yeah.
And Barry Neal's actually going to come out in the middle of this as well. So it's going to be Witchner and Neal working together. You got Peter Jones as well. It's going to be in this pack. So he's the lead car at the front end of all of this. So keep your eyes on all of that.
Yeah, Peter Jones just dropping back a little bit. He is a couple of laps down, of course.
Matson's in the lane now.
Yeah, so that is going to be Dylan Gray in the lead of this race once again. So that weird strategy that he's got he's getting
points. That's all I can say.
Yeah.
He's getting
contact!
Witcher and Neal.
Witcher and Neal. Very good save there by Witcher. Neal just giving him a little bit of a bump on the back there. A little bit of rubbing there. Rubbing is racing, lads. This is the thing about touring cars.
Is that enough rubbing? Well, I'll tell you the other thing to keep in mind as well is Witcher is now starting to chase down Dylan Gray. So Gray's margin over these guys is going to start closing at this point in time as well. As we snap back to your live footage, that's Barry Neal getting roughed up by Justin Witcher, and now following Justin Witcher. And keep your eyes on Dylan Gray. He has just been caught like he is standing still, and Witcher might have enough of a run here to go to the lead. We'll see if this will work for him. Sends it to the inside, shows the nose. He's going to try and send it all the way down the bottom of turn number one. Barry Neal drifts up the track in there as well, trying to slot back in. Now we've got a motor race, boys. Now we're just one more stop to home from here.
Got very, very squealy in the corner there. He got really loose. Now he's getting past as he gets pushed by Barry Neal. The two helping each other out now. There was a little bit of rubbing and a little bit of contact between the two early on. They've now made it up as they get past Dylan Gray, and Raymond Jaeger joins them. Raymond Jaeger has been quietly and slyly working his way up the field with Justin Witcher as well. Greg Spencer too. The Pinnacle drivers just working their way up there nicely. Adam Malone and Aidan Schultz have linked up with each other as well. The Southern Stars boys doing a great job of working their way together, especially for Adam Malone, who had to serve that drive-through penalty. It's actually got him. He's actually worked his way back up there nicely. Kay Donnelly and Gary Wellman are still within touching distance as well. So you've got multiple teams here. The only driver that doesn't have a teammate around him is Dylan Gray at the moment. So it's a 2x2x3 at the moment, as Pinnacle have 3 cars up in the top end, while everybody else has 2.
Well, it's going to settle back down here once again. We say settle, we don't really mean settle, because it's definitely not settling down.
When has it ever settled down in the Australasian Supercar eSeries?
Never. Honestly, never. You sit down and you tell these guys, hey, it's actually quite a long race here tonight, and they're like, no, you can't say that here. That doesn't work.
You say it, and then all of a sudden something will happen, and that's usually the way it goes.
Don't you get 5 points every lap you lead? Isn't that what the deal is now?
Something like that, yeah.
1 point for winning the race, 5 points for every lap you lead.
Yeah, that's it. Dylan Gray, champion by the end of this race. But yeah, really, look, some interesting strategy calls out there, some interesting off-kilter strategies as well. We've got 52 laps remaining of this race. That means that everybody bar Dylan Gray can make it home on one more stop.
The interesting bit that I don't have the information for, and I'm going to work out a way to get it, is who's got sets left of tyres for that last stop and who doesn't. What?
Yeah, that's one of the things. That's one of the things that we don't have information of, unfortunately, as Raymond Jaeger makes a move on Barry Neal, and we've got a Pinnacle 1-2 all of a sudden up at the front for this race. Pinnacle have got 2 cars up at the front of the pack, and then we have the Aotearoa Aurora racing car of Barry Neal just behind it. He's trying to get that position back. He does not want these two linking up and running away with it. He is trying his best to keep them separated. But Dylan Gray coming in now.
It still doesn't make sense. That's 23 laps on that stint, so he hasn't gone to a full tank of fuel for that.
No, as I said, he's coming in so he doesn't lose a lap. So he's making sure he can keep on the lead lap, and that's the only thing that is really. As I
Great
said, I can't work
sponsorship
out the
there for
strategy.
Edge Setup Group. Get on that.
And Witcher Electronics as well. You know,
Yeah,
we got
Promise
two
in there as well.
2 title sponsors right there.
And if we go to the
Beautiful
chop, Locked On Lads TV's apparently on the top of their thing. I didn't know that, but there you go. These three
yeah.
are really putting on a good show there right now. I'm going to stop talking. You guys take over.
They are, and just behind them as well, Greg Spencer and Aidan Schultz as well, battling away as Aidan Schultz gets the position made. And Aidan Schultz has got a great run at the moment, and watch for Adam Malone too. Barry Neal just dropping out of this one. Barry Neal just dropping out of this battle, and I wonder if he's dropping back to fuel save a little bit, because he's really just dropped right out of this fight. He's decided he wants nothing of this one. We've got a battle for the lead though. It's Jaeger versus it's Jaeger in the lead at the moment, but Aidan Schultz is really trying to get up there. There is a huge battle pack as Jaeger tries to break the draft. You see him moving across the track, trying to break the draft behind him. This has given Greg Spencer the opportunity. He's got to run on Aidan Schultz into the first corner. They make contact. They save the cars once more, but that's going to break it up a little bit. Slow down those cars behind him. That's going to give Jaeger a nice little bit of a lead.
Well, now it is time to settle back down, and Jaeger starting to stretch those clean pair of heels. Hasn't really been at the front end of town since the very opening of the race. Qualified P3, started up front, pit on the end of lap number 2, and has been sitting back there for a very long time.
I think.
Now he's stuck. Sorry, go ahead.
I think Scott just broke, but that's okay. It's good to see Raymond Jaeger up front again, number 1, leading the pack. And these Pinnacle boys are going to dictate this from here on out by the look of it. Up front, those.
That was a big moment, Barry Neal and I think Adam Malone as well. There was a big moment. Gary Wellman having to just ease off and just really do some avoiding action. They just really almost got caught up in it. Dylan Gray did not work out for him this time because he has dropped a lap down. So he's now 1 lap down. But importantly, he has got a big gap ahead of Ruben Phelps, who's in pit lane. We seem to have said that a lot tonight. Ruben Phelps in pit lane. It's only his 5th pit stop though. He's had less stops than.
It was only supposed to be 4, and he's still got to do at least 1 more, Carl.
Yeah, but I don't know where.
Were
Ruben
you in
Phelps
pit
wants to
lane?
find.
Did you punch a hole in his fuel tank? Is that what's happened?
I don't want to say anything. I will or will not confirm that. I can't confirm that I put a hole in.
Carl, you're doing a lot of defending for somebody who's not guilty.
I'm not guilty, as Justin Witcher is about to take the lead as we refocus on this great race that's going on and not on my antics in pit lane where I'm putting holes in people's fuel tanks.
I think you owe an apology to Ruben later on, by the way. Wow.
Oh, my word. Side by side, squeezing each other right up and in and two and against the fence. Aiden Schultz nearly put Kate Donnelly in and against the fence, and Donnelly not happy about that one on the in-game radio at this point in time. It is coming to its conclusion. 1 more pit stop left to go. Who's your money on, fellas?
Dylan Gray at the moment.
You love a dark horse by the sound of that, Wilco.
I do. Very dark horse. Once you go dark, mate. That's not the saying. Gary Wallman is still sitting in the perfect spot, though. I do like a good Gary Wallman sitting just back in 7th spot, watching all this carnage happen. Aiden Schultz has showed speed tonight, though, and is always putting his car in the right spot. I think he's in for a podium. But yeah, that's where my money is. What about you, Carl?
Who do I want to put the curse on? That's the question. Who do I want to say that's possibly gonna look? I'm gonna go Ruben Phelps, just to try and make it back for him. But yeah, look, I don't know at the moment. It's really hard to call. I think Aiden's got some great pace. Kate Donnelly has really been running a perfect race. He's really been running well. He's really been quick. But I think Barry Neal is in with a good shout. I think he is one of those drivers that he's just saving a little bit now, just so he can spend a little bit less time in his pit stop. But he is going for it again.
3 wide down the straight. Just quickly, YouTube, A Dyson 41, someone famous in chat, is so weird to see brake lights in oval racing, but good racing.
It is odd to see the brake lights because you can actually tell when people are braking and it throws you off completely. It's weird because I'm looking and I'm like, hey, they're actually braking? What? But it is a useful thing to have because it theoretically, hopefully, it will mean less accidents. But well, I guess we've seen a few good saves, but we've got some great racing going on back. People are trying to break the draft at the moment.
I can't stop watching this front pack, but there is a lot of stuff going on back in the pack as well.
There's so much going on, but you can't take your eyes off this battle for 4th at the moment. It is absolutely mega, and there are some great drives going on throughout the field. You know, and even a bit further back, we've got some great runs going on. Nigel Patton, Jamie Nankervis having a good battle. Reese May, Warwick Sharp. A few really good battles going on, but the battle at the front is the one to watch. And it is Aiden Schultz taking the lead of the race. Aiden Schultz getting a great run and pulling along Cade Donnelly.
Really broke the Pinnacle boys up at the front too now. They're definitely not together anymore.
They haven't. I wonder if Pinnacle has just eased off a little bit so they can fall in behind these guys to save a little bit of fuel. They don't want to be leading at the moment because the longer you stay in the lead of this race means the longer you're going to be stationary in pit lane. And that could really affect things in the latter stages of this race. So that could be the thing that actually wins you this race now, is if you can save a couple of litres of fuel, it might mean that you're stationary for about a second less in pit lane, and that could be the difference from winning this race and not. As we see again, which are taking the lead of the race. It is constant action, which are getting past Aiden Schultz. Aiden Schultz having to go on that high line once again, keeps the car nice and solid. So close to that barrier through turns 1 and 2. It is just millimeter perfect through this. It is fantastic to watch, and look, it is fantastic to race in as well. This racing is so close. It is so very, very.
Speaking of runs, here comes once again Aiden Schultz to the inside. Justin Witcher's going to have to hang it around the outside. Kate Donnelly wants to show that nose back in. It's been a while since he's been up at the front of the pack, and he's had enough of this sitting back here. He wants a 1 next to his name this time by.
Yeah, and of course, it's a Triple Crown. It's the first of the Triple Crown. So getting this win tonight is going to be super important to these guys. Witcher again getting a great run. And look at Donnelly. He's got behind Witcher. This is going to be a beautiful draft action. Witcher moves up slightly, and that's going to put Schultz slightly off centre. Oh, it's so close. A real close action. Which
Gave him a
really
touch up.
defending, but this is going to help Barry Neal. Barry Neal's got a really good run on the outside right now. He could get a run on Kate Donnelly, and he might well do. Aiden Schultz going to help him out a little bit here. It's going to be Schultz and Neal racing against each other. It's side by side between him and Donnelly. Witcher moving up once more. Blocking off Aiden Schultz, keeping that first position. Not easy to do though. These guys are racing so hard. We're on lap 118 of 160, 42 to go here for round number 1 of the Australasian Supercar eSeries, brought to you by my private seller, Edge Setup Shops, Witcher Electronics, and Hot Toddy Heating Installations.
Quick one, Scotty Rankin, for you, mate. You're the expert on ovals and Indy and stuff like that. How much of this is practice for those last couple of laps, putting himself in the right position now just to know what the run is you exactly need?
I mean, some of it's positioning, some of it's trying to, look, you don't want to be leading when you cross the start-finish line with the white flag being waved in the air. You want to be in... Darren McKenzie will say P3. Everyone else will say P2 at the start of that last lap, but we've had some 3 wide finishes here in these cars. A lot of it's about setting up, and if you actually start to have a look as well, just offline, the marbles are really starting to build up, so it's important to figure out how high you can run and where you can build that momentum from, and how far back you've got to be to build that run, because you have to sandbag coming off the corner a certain amount, such that when you start to build that momentum, you have enough of a run to clear it. So there is a lot of games being played about figuring all this out, but there's also just good hard racing going on.
One of the other things as well to remember as well is if you catch a lapped car on that final lap. We saw last year at the Indy 500 with Elio Castroneves taking the victory. It was a lapped car that basically decided that race, and just getting caught up a little bit behind that lapped car, Castroneves just pounced, using all of those years of experience and those many Indy 500 wins. Spider-Man once again did it again.
As we talk about, Troy is being lapped at the moment, and he is not having a good time of it right now.
Oh, nearly got nudged there again from Gary Wellman. Wellman wants him out of the way. He just wants him gone. He's sick of seeing that car directly ahead of him. So Mortensen has got a race to run. He is still a part of this, and he is still going to be a critical factor in where this one ends up. But at the same time, he's still got to keep himself alive.
Right now, he's the lucky dog. So if anything happens, this is a very important position for him to hold.
It is, and it's trying to keep yourself in there, trying to keep yourself in the battles, of course. Oval racing, blue flags are not a thing. It's a racing position. You race
There's a blue
position
flag?
on that.
What are you talking about? Are they with the safety cars as well, are they? The blue flags and safety cars go together, are they?
Yeah, you keep a blue flag in a safety car, and so you keep them away from oval tracks, where we have pace cars, of course. I think there is actually a blue flag that exists for oval racing, but it's like, it's
An obscure rule.
It's one of those obscure rules that's basically just randomly used. We've got 39 laps remaining, so critically, once we get to lap 128, I reckon, will be the time when somebody will come in early and try something different. So that's going to be the point where they can actually make it home, technically. And it's going to be who can top up that tank, who can get it done quickest time. There are so many things at play here. It's going to be interesting to see what happens.
There's a few cars I'm looking at that are on stints that are very interesting numbers. We've got Warwick Sharp back there on a 25 lap stint. He's not going to get to that magical number at this stage unless he can really save some fuel.
Whether or not he's got a set of tyres left as well.
Look at these boys down the main straight. They are trying to break the draft, although I don't think they're going to break a second draft.
A workshop can make it,
It's going to
theoretically.
be very, very close.
Yeah. So yeah, it's gonna be it's a very, very, very dicey one, but yeah, it is something that can be done.
Just on interest, we are back in the field here. Peter Matson, we saw him do a 34 lap stint before. He's up 13 places to 16th. It'd be interesting to see how his fuel saving race is going to finish up, but that's a very good drive as well.
But let's actually talk about that, because that's critical to talk about at this point in time. He's in P16, the tail end of I believe this little pack that we're looking at the moment. Sorry, he's at the front of this pack.
Yep.
Yeah, and the issue is these guys are 3/4 of a lap down, and that's 16th, 17th, and I think 18th, or it might be 16th, 17th, and a lapped car. No, it's 16, 17, 18. So, first through to 8th are all together on the track. Then you've got a 17-second gap back to 9th and 10th, a small gap back to P11, and 2 more cars there. So the field is really, really broken up. The disparities up and down the field are quite high. So right now there's 8 cars in with a shout of winning this. If we get a caution, that number goes up again.
Big time goes up, and I think that's what everyone's hoping for outside of that top sort of 8 places. So.
Well, Peter Matson, if he gets a caution, all of a sudden he catapults up the ranking because he has to add the least fuel.
He is. He's 4 laps better than most people out there, I reckon, right now. 3 laps better most, by the look of it. So that equates to at least a couple seconds, or a fair few seconds on the pit lane. So we saw before with Darren McKenzie at the start how much those 3 laps hurt him as far as track position went. But Barry Neal back at the front. Something. But he pulled himself to the back of that pack, and now he's back at the front of it again.
Yeah, so now they're back in the draft for lap traffic at this point in time. So we'll keep an eye out for who that is ahead of them. It's actually Gerard Daly. They've just gone sailing past.
That front 4 have actually broken away. There is a separated pack. Wow.
As they just get up on a lap car.
And I think that forced him into the pits, the 4-lapped car.
Yeah, that was Jared Daly there, just really got caught out there, and that almost caused a big accident there. That was so close. I want
to go back and look at that again. Sorry. That was, and he's coming in at a very interesting spot. He's got 34 laps. He's got to do the biggest stint of the race, or equal to
36 it will be.
Oh, wow.
To get him home, so he won't make it.
No, so well, unless he is the greatest fuel saver in history. I mean, there's a possibility he would make it, but he would have to basically be rolling that car around.
That run.
Dylan Gray back in pit lane.
Sorry, and then has to massively pull out.
Interesting. Dylan Gray back in pit lane. So he's pitted again. We've got 34 laps remaining.
That's still.
I just can't understand his strategy. I just don't understand it. I can't understand it. It's one of those weird ones.
Top 5 are back together again. Raymond Jaeger's got onto the back of this group with that lap traffic.
Righto, so lead pack now back to 5 cars at this point in time. Looks like it may force itself back out to 6. Aaron Bryan was running up in the front of town at the top end of the show, and well, not so longer. He's the car that's just gone 1 lap down, running in P22. So the number of cars on that lead lap continues to dwindle. Pit stops coming up anytime, sort of within 3 laps now. Yeah.
Anytime now, you can come in anytime now and make it home.
Well,
if you're in a pack, yeah. So you're probably going to want to leave it at least 1 or 2 more laps just to be safe. But you can pretty much come in now. Of course, coming in a little bit earlier does mean that you'll be stationary a little bit shorter. So that could be a useful thing to do. But if you sort of lose the pack completely, it could make things a little bit more interesting.
Carl, counterpoint. Not necessarily, because you're only fueling. You can pit once that window opens.
Oh, you can take
pit at any time once that window opens. If you've still got 5 laps worth of fuel left, you can pit as soon as the window opens, and you'll still pit for a shorter period of time.
That's it. So it's just taking that fuel on board, and of course, if you go longer, you can lower that fuel as well. So there are a few different strategies at play here, interestingly enough.
So on
last
that,
last time a blue flag was used at Indianapolis was with Sage Karam, I believe, and it was due to him being the lead car on a restart, but he was the slowest car on the track. So blue flag was used in that circumstance. So yes, blue flags are used on ovals, but it's more as a courtesy to say, look, you're a bit slow, maybe let people pass. It's not a you have to get out the way.
Barry Neal's going to get out to a second lead here, which is extremely important this time of the race. That's a full
more
second.
importantly
He's just broken
than that,
the draft.
why he's doing that is because he's got the draft coming back his way from the cars up ahead of him.
Exactly.
Jai Schultz, Tristan Koch, and Gerard Daly are going to be the next 3 cars on the road. 2 of those cars are within a second now, within that draft window, and Barry Neal has all of a sudden, he has turned the wicker up, to use an IndyCar term. He is going for it. He is turning and burning.
Gary was just holding him. It's just under a second. He's so close. He's almost there to breaking it.
Spencer in pit lane. Greg Spencer has come into pit lane. He's the first of the top 10 to come into pit lane.
I tell you what, if I'm actually in Barry Neal's shoes, I'm pitting this time as well, because I've broken this toe. If I can just go, it's over. Barry Neal will win the race.
Yeah, it's... I would probably... it's tricky, isn't it? It's one of those... you don't want to be losing time with traffic. And that's the thing, is if he starts to lose time with this traffic, then he's going to really want to come to pit lane.
The traffic here has completely and utterly broken up this Reed pack, and Barry Neal's going to go once more time. The car that was just back there, Jai Schultz, peels off. He's the lapped car. He's assisted Barry Neal, and now he pulls off into the lane, and 1 second is the margin to stay in that draft. Just about hanging on is Gary Wellman. Now, Barry Neal has no more draft support ahead of him, and now Gary Wellman will start to pull himself back. So, Neal, I think you've got to come this lap if you're Barry Neal.
He's losing that second advantage he's got every moment he's out there.
Barry Neal pitted a little bit earlier than the rest of these guys, so he's got less fuel. So Barry Neal probably will have to pit this lap anyway, as he's probably got no more fuel remaining. So he is probably running on fumes at the moment. So he's going to either pit this or the next lap, as I think he's really, really low on fuel now. Whereas the guys behind him have got a couple of laps more fuel. So Kay Donnelly and Gary Wellman, they stop.
Well, he's going to go another lap.
Schultz
Cars in the background starting to pull in. Yeah, Aiden Schultz was one of those. Adam Malone's going to stay out another lap.
Justin Witcher in as well.
Yep.
But yeah, Barry Neal maybe can go 1 to 2 more laps, whereas Kate Donnelly and Gary Wellman can go about 3 or 4 more laps. So they can keep it out there a little bit longer. And that could be good news for them, because if they come in together as well, they can work together. So this could really break things up. This could really change this race. It's going to be fascinating to see how this one goes to the end.
Kate Donnelly's just sent it down the inside of Tristan Koch, who was that lapped car. So now he's starting to tail back in on Barry Neal. Barry Neal's got Peter Jones ahead of him now that he'll try and use. Keep your eyes pretty much all around the circuit at all points in time. Neal's now down to the inside. Neal's coming to the lane. So his stop. Finally, he's going to check that box off. Kate Donnelly goes another lap. Gary Wellman goes with him. Raymond Jaeger's into the pit stop. Adam Malone. It is getting to rush hour down on pit lane.
Yeah, it is very busy in pit lane at the moment. Those pit crews will be earning all of their virtual currency, or their virtual sandwiches, depending on what team they're with and how much they get paid. But Kay Donnelly back in the lead, Gary Wellman in second. They can go a couple more laps, and if they can get it working here, they could pull out a little bit of a gap, and obviously they might have to take a little bit less fuel so they can have a little bit less stationary time. It'll be interesting to see. Brad Fenley keeping it out there. He's in third. We've not spoken about Fenley much tonight, but he's a bit further down, of course. He's got a big gap. He's about 30 seconds off the lead, but he's having a fairly good race out there tonight. He's been keeping it quiet, but he's been having a solid run, and importantly, he's kept it on the lead lap.
Cars now starting to file back into pit lane once again. Raymond Jaeger, Barry Neal. Barry Neal is in. Raymond Jaeger in. Reese Mays is in. Jamie Nankervis in. Donnelly is not in. Neither is Gary Wellman. Brad Fenley is still out there. Fenley will be coming to the pits this time by. Nigel Patton is still out there. Peter Matson, the longest to go on that last round of stops, is still out there as well. And Aiden Schultz, out of all of this, was the car that come out first. He is running away.
Of those who have stopped, Aiden Schultz is significantly in front of Justin Witcher, to be honest.
No, it's about to change because
Raymond
Barry Neal has come out ahead of him, and Raymond Jaeger's ahead of him. So changing all the time is the track order, and these cars are spread. There is a little bit of traffic just ahead of Raymond Jaeger, so he's caught himself a draft. This is all played into Raymond Jaeger's hands. Car starting to file into pit lane. Directly in front of him was Aaron Bryan. Jaeger needs to get some assistance here from Jai Schultz, but Jai Schultz has got teammates in this fight. He's not going to offer it. Jaeger will get to his inside. Jaeger's going to clear him. Now is Schultz going to pull Barry Neal back into this? You bet he is. He's now back into that aero bubble.
Jaeger had an absolute beautiful pit stop, hit 29 seconds stationary, 1 minute in the pit lane, 1 minute and 1 second, 1 minute and 1,000th of a second in pit lane. He has had one of the quickest stops of the night, so that worked out really, really well for him, and that's gained him an awful lot of time. So obviously he timed his fueling to perfection and didn't take a full tank. So we're going to have Kate Donnelly and Gary Wellman, I think, coming in this time round. How quick is this stop going to be? Now, they need to do this stop in under 1 minute to get out ahead of Jaeger. Will they be able to do that?
Jaeger has draft yet again, and so does Barry Neal. So those guys are absolutely hauling. It is the timing of these pit stops that's been the critical factor. Raymond Jaeger is absolutely moving. This needs to be the lap of his life if he wants to win the first of the Triple Crown events, if he wants to go out from season number 3 and carry that momentum forward. He gets over the back of Peter Jones. He gets by him nice and quickly. Jones with a little bit of a late swerve there to get out of the way, but he's done quite well there. Now he's back into the tow once again. Reese Mays, the next car ahead of him. This is what it comes down to. This time by, he enters turn number 3. Reese Mays still going to provide drafting assistance. Did Kate Donnelly and Gary Wellman stay out too long? Did they conserve enough fuel to get themselves out? Donnelly looks like he might be taking tyres. Is that Wellman already backing out in the
line?
Yes, it is.
Wellman is on his way out. Donnelly is on his way out. Their stationary times.
Raymond Jaeger is coming around turn number 1 right
Jaeger's
now.
got it.
He is going to come out. He's gone past 1. That's Kate Donnelly. Now it's going to be number 2. That's Gary Wellman. Wellman might get lucky here. He might just feed back into this. And Barry Neal is in the draft again. So it's going to be Wellman, Neal, and Jaeger to fight it out through these last 20 or so laps. We have got a motor race once again, ladies and gentlemen.
You know, I said they had to do it in under a second. Gary Wellman, 1 second, 1.3. So it was just shy. And look, if it was just a tiny bit quicker, maybe they just took a little bit too much fuel.
Oh! Was that Jaeger? No, it wasn't. It was Reese May that caught the fence. Yeah. Thank God it was Reese.
But yeah, crucially, Wellman and Donnelly, I think they took a bit too much fuel on board, or did they take the right amount, and did Jaeger take a little bit too little fuel? That's going to be the question now. Jaeger, 29.7 stationary time. Neal, 34 seconds. Wellman, 31.4. Aiden Schultz, 32.3. Kate Donnelly, 33.3. They took a little bit more fuel on board. Did Jaeger take a little bit less fuel on board, and will that come to affect him? Will he have enough fuel to make it home for the end of this race, or did he time it to perfection?
Wellman behind, getting caught up with Reese May, but getting past him. This front 3 are basically together on road. Just quickly, I wanted to bump in Facebook. Aaron Dillon wants to pick Simboys 1-2. This was all before the pit stops, and Dyson wants to say Kate Donnelly looking good from here. So everything happened. I didn't get to chuck that in, but Raymond Jaeger leading this one very well.
Yeah, this is really, really close now. And look, it's going to be interesting to see if Jaeger's worked this out well. Because if he has worked out that fuel strategy to the perfection, then it will be a beautiful win. If he is shy by half a litre, could be disaster for him. You know what it's like when a car starts to choke and starts to cough and splutter on that final corner. Could we see that tonight? And it's so close there.
But this is critical.
The last thing you want for Wellman is to get caught up in this and lose that draft. And he's almost there. He's almost lost it.
This is absolutely critical for Gary Wellman. The draft now to Barry Neal is just at 1 second. The car's ahead of him, though. They have the draft. Can he stay there? Can he keep it? Matson is the lapped car that they've just gone around between Barry Neal and Raymond Jaeger. How long does Barry Neal wait? Does he try and punch a hole on this thing? Does he try and run away from Raymond Jaeger? Multiple stories left to play out here. Other than that, it's just about done. Aiden Schultz is nearly in the draft window. If he gets lucky with traffic, he may pull himself back into this. But Neal and Jaeger are now together. There's no more traffic ahead of them. That'll tug Roman back into this, so it's a 3-car duel.
And of course, there is the question of who took tyres, who didn't take tyres, what strategies are at play with that aspect, and how much will that affect it. We know the front right can be a bit of a tricky one on this track. So, if, say, Jaeger didn't take tyres and maybe Wellman and Donnelly did, they could be in good standings towards the end of this race. So it's so much to play for here. There's so many things. Gary Wellman is on flying form at the moment. Just at a 52.6, he is one of the fastest cars out there. He is really, really going. And I do wonder...
Count Schultz and Donnelly out. These guys have got the draft now.
Well, they're all in the 52s. I'm wondering if maybe they took some tyres and...
No, it's draft. It's all draft. That's all it is. Yep.
Lap traffic bringing them right back into it. Without the lap traffic, they'd be... If this field wasn't as stretched out as it is, these guys wouldn't have a chance right now.
Well, it's Raymond Jaeger just came over the mic and said, I don't know if I'm going to make it. So there, throw another spanner into the works, and it's still going on at the tail end of this field as Kate Donnelly tries to hook up with, I think that might have been Aiden Schultz to try and bypass up traffic.
If I'm Barry Neal right here, I would try and keep behind. Yeah, that's it. And look, Jaeger's dropped behind Neal, and he's going to drop behind Wellman as well. Sit in the draft here so he can save some fuel. And that is going to be a godsend for Jaeger right now.
This is a 5-way race now because of this.
So, as I said, did Jaeger mistime that pit stop? It looks like a beautiful time, but did he take a little bit too little... Did he take enough fuel? And that's the question. If he didn't, he's going to be in some serious trouble. So he's got to save some fuel, and he will be able to do that now, sitting as the third car in the draft.
Well, more lap traffic gets out of the way. Darren Johnson not having a great night. It has not been a great showing, unfortunately, for the middle split racing cars. Craig Roffey had a great run early on, found the fence, and that's about all she wrote for Roffey's night. Unfortunately, Darren Johnson's been on the outer from the very get-go. Jaeger now sucks back up in on the rear bumper here of Gary Wellman. We're setting ourselves up for a thrilling finale. There's 19 laps to go at the moment. There'll be 18 at the conclusion of this one.
You'd say Craig Roffey's had a terrible night. He's currently sitting in P10. He's just behind Nicholas Walsh. He is well in there to get a good top 10 finish here. He is fighting it out with Nicholas Walsh at the moment, who's sitting in 9th position. And they are... they're having a really good battle at the moment for that final couple of spots inside the top 10. So it's not all disaster and doom and gloom for him.
Well, I mean, when you consider where he was earlier in the night, you would have to say that's disaster. That's not where
definitely
it wanted to be.
fighting for a win at one stage, but no, he's had a great night finishing 10th. Todd Maxwell, we were talking about him before, just behind him, 11th at the moment.
Wellman had a really good run then on Barry Neal, but decided to stay in second place. We got 17 laps remaining, ladies and gentlemen. We are getting towards the end of this race.
And do you know why he did that? Do you want to know why he did that? Because Cade Donnelly's just tagged onto the back end of these guys. So now it is back to the 5-car pack.
As I said, it's a very interesting little game he's playing here, and I reckon he's trying to set up for the finish right now. They are starting to plan out what they're going to do for that final section. It's Dylan Gray in pit lane again with that with that strange strategy that we're trying to work out and we can't seem to. Unfortunately for him, he had a good run though. He had a good run up at the front for a fair few laps. So good showing tonight, and actually showed a really good strength up leading the race and fighting at the top guys. So good job from him.
He broke
but
the abacus, so...
Yeah, I mean, you know, he's made an interesting strategy call.
Is there points for the most pit stops?
I think we'll give you that to Phelps.
No, he's beaten Phelps now.
Oh, he's beaten Phelps. There you go.
Yeah. I mean, I think Rubes has only done like 6 stops, whereas Dylan Gray's done 8. So, you know, it's... as I said, I can't work out what happened to Ruben Phelps. He just lost a lap somewhere and then just fell off of the pack, unfortunately. So he's just had a bit of a rough night. Meanwhile, Barry Neal still in the lead of this race. And as I said, you just got to wonder what those Sim boys are up to. They're just thinking of... they're just thinking about it, and don't discount Raymond Jaeger. He might be a little bit low on fuel, but he's still sitting there. And he's going to be able to save fuel if he can keep in the draft, but he has fallen off the back of Wellman. So it's all tricky. We've got 15 laps remaining here for the Australasian Supercar eSeries, brought to you, of course, by Locked On Lads, Locked On Lads TV over YouTube, Twitch, Facebook and everywhere else. Of course, you know that because you're watching us right now. Thank you so much for that. My private sellers, Edge Setup Shops, Witcher Electrics, and Hot Toddy Heating Installations as well. So big thank you to all of them. Big thank you to Wilco as well for jumping on board to cover this series with Locked On. Absolute pleasure to have you here and to be here as well, because we've got some great racing and this has been fantastic stuff for our first broadcast.
I tell you what, if you think this is exciting, you wait till it gets down to those last 2 or 3 laps, because a couple seasons ago, this one finished 3 wide with thousandths covering the top 4. So it's gonna set the track alight. There's a yard of bricks down there, and somebody is going to be the first one to cross that yard of bricks. Maybe they'll have a glass of milk on standby. So we'll have to find that one out when they're all said and done.
That yard of bricks.
There you go. Yard of bricks. That camera. That's what they look like flashing by at 280 kilometers an hour.
Yeah, I don't know what
Can we get another shot of that?
You want another shot of it? There you go.
Yeah, all right. Yeah, let's have a look, because these guys are just coming out of turn 4 right now. This is the rundown. That was a lapped car. There will be 2 more
you're going to
passing.
see Gary Wellman get a run here.
You're not going to see it.
And Jaeger, there we go. That's what that battle looks like if you're standing stationary. There is not much to see if you're looking at one spot, but these guys are flying for it.
Call that one by the naked eye, Carl. Who won that?
I'd say Barry Neal. That's quite an easy one.
No, the naked eye at that camera, I can't see nothing. It was a blur.
Barry Neal.
I would say there was a car.
Yeah, I saw a blue car, and Barry Neal is a blue car, so I would go with Barry Neal. But yeah, absolutely fantastic stuff. I mean, we had to use basically that camera last season, didn't we, Scotty, when we had that dead heat? So we are joking about it, but we might need to use that camera at the end of this race to try and work out who won and by how much, because there was literally just a Ford badge in it last year with one of those races where it was nothing between the 2 cars. You could barely see it with the visible eye.
We couldn't actually pick it at all. No. We literally had to revert back to the timing.
Even the timing couldn't pick it.
iRacing live timing does go to a 10,000th of a second. It just doesn't display it in certain.
Yeah.
So there you go.
It was 0.000 on all of our screens, so even we couldn't really work it out. It was absolutely impressive. Of course, that yard of bricks sits there because this track used to be made of bricks, of course.
Just a quick shout out, 14 cars still in the lead lap after such a long green stint race too. Out of the 34 starters, 28 are still going around. So well done to all those guys who are still going on. Wow.
Don't say too much about that. There was a little bit of biffo at that point in time between Kay Donnelly and Aidan Schultz as well. And Adam Malone and Peter Matson actually came to blows at the exact same time. So at this point in time, there's a lot going on all up and down the track. Adam Malone trying to recover from P7. He's hunting down Justin Witcher to try and go into P6, who's immediately ahead of him on track. So it is still all to play for, even if you're not in this lead pack.
Oh, as we say in motorsport, anything can happen. It usually does. You never know what's going to happen, in all honesty. And, you know, it is one of those things of it can just change in an instant. Meanwhile, Nicholas Walsh is doing a great job defending against Craig Rothie at the moment. So that's for P10. Todd Maxfield is a little bit further down the road, currently in P11. He's got Christopher Finley behind him, so those two trying to work together to get up there. Jamie Curvis currently sitting in 13th. He's having a good race against Brad Fenley. Those are the final two cars on the league lap, battling for 13th and 14th position. Fenley getting a really good run on Dan Curvis at the moment. Dan Curvis doing a good job of defending.
Well, that fuel tank of Barry Neal's is getting tested at the moment because nobody is taking over control of the pack. Gary Wellman is happy to sit there in shadow. Cade Donnelly now gets a run off the corner, and they're going to shadow towards the middle of the track.
No, it was Cade Donnelly, sorry. I thought it was Aiden Schultz, sorry. I was misjudging him. Gary Wellman was also taking a bit of a look too. So yeah, there's a few cars just poking their noses out as, again, getting past the lap cars through the corners here at Indianapolis. Of course, not an easy thing to do. It's very easy to scrub the car up high here. And this track is much narrower than it looks sometimes, especially when you're travelling at well over 280 kilometers per hour. It gets narrow very quickly.
150 laps in, 150 laps of marbles built up on that top side for Aaron Bryan to navigate out of the way of the lead pack. He actually did quite well there, so good shout out to Aaron Bryan. He's had a fair few showings actually over the last couple of rounds and the last couple of seasons as well, so keep your eyes on Bryan. I have a feeling a win will be coming his way sometime in the near future. All right, now it's starting to be time to go, all to play for. The marbles have been laid out, they've all been set down, and it's time to play for all the marbles. There are now 10 laps left to run. Well, there's 9.5 laps left to run. That pack right there are the company who are left to fight this out. You got two sim boys in there, in Gary Wellman and Cade Donnelly. You've got the Pinnacle Esports car of Raymond Jaeger. Barry Neal in the...
Gary Wellman making the move right now for the lead. He's getting up past Barry Neal. Gary Wellman getting on the inside and deciding it's time to make a bit of a move and get up into the front of the pack. And you can see there, Jaeger just catching on to the back of Barry Neal now, giving a run for Cade Donnelly. Cade Donnelly getting down on the inside of turn number 2. Moving forwards on Jaeger, and look at Aiden Schultz. He's thinking, I'll have a bit of this, I think. And he's starting to make the move as well. All of a sudden, Jaeger's gone from 3rd down into possibly 5th position. He's dropping positions quite quickly.
It looked like a little bit of tyre scrub, so Jaeger's now starting to struggle a little bit. Barry Neal has now had to run in-car ahead draft going into these corners for the first time in a while. Let's see how he reacts with that one. Aiden Schultz starting to go racing. He doesn't want to be at the tail end. He got on the grass on the inside, manages to hang on to this one, so he's going to stay part of this lead pack, but only just that wall was calling Aiden Schultz's name, and he managed to deal with the sirens call, another lap and another move for the lead of this race, and Barry Neal's gone to the inside at the front end of town. Gary Wellman's had to give this one up and will do so, but now it's going to be Wellman and Donnelly hooked up together, the two teammates. They always end up in the Indy races, you know, at the front end of these things together, so it is Donnelly and Wellman tied together once again.
The sim boys tend to do well on super speedway tracks. They always tend to end up towards the front of the pack. Will we see anybody skidding across on their roof for the win tonight? Will we get the Cade Donnelly special? I don't know. It could happen, of course. You never know.
I thought it was the Aaron Dillon special.
Oh, was it Aaron Dillon? Sorry. I think Gary Wellman was in reverse when he finished in third.
He was.
And,
yep.
Yeah, there's a few specials out there, but they are practicing at the moment, just seeing how it goes. A really good run now. Cade Donnelly getting down on the inside, helping push Gary Wellman along. If these two sim boys can hook up, we've only got 6 and a bit laps to go. It is getting so close now at the front. It is all to play for. We are getting to the very end of this, the first race of the season. Look at Donnelly giving Gary Wellman a bit of bump drafting here, pushing that car along. All 1,200 horsepower there being pushed along as you connect 2 of these cars together.
Yeah, a little bit less draft, a little bit less air resistance, and that's pushed Gary Wellman way out in front. Raymond Jaeger's now backing himself up. I'm wondering if this isn't intentional from Raymond Jaeger. We'll see if he can do it. Barry Neal's been left out to dry as the draft goes down the inside, and Donnelly is going to slowly slink up to the rear bumper of his teammate. Can Neal stay there? Here comes Jaeger. Here comes Schultz. Schultz sends it in from downtown, parks it on the inside. He'll try and take that one away from Raymond Jaeger. Jaeger's still to the top side of things. It's not done yet for Jaeger and Schultz. They'll hang side by side going into turn number 2. Now it's going to be Schultz to the bottom side of the track, and Schultz will clear Jaeger. So Schultz moves forward one position. Wellman moving all over the track, trying to break the toe. Now the bump drafting starts, and now Barry Neal has a go.
Neal getting a good run down the inside. Will we see Wellman trying to cover him off? He can't do it. Wellman's not been able to get in front of Barry Neal. Neal's got his car ahead, got that nose into the corner at the right time, and Wellman's hung up to dry a little bit. He's going to catch those marbling, lose a little bit of speed here, but he's got his teammate behind him. Cade Donnelly will once again start pushing him. He'll start getting the draft once more from Barry Neal. Get a good run. Goes down the inside. Will it be enough here? We are on 156 of 160. Very, very close to that white flag coming out. Bit of practice maybe for the finish. Are they just seeing how they want to work this one out? A little bit of a dress rehearsal for the end of the race? Or have they shown their cards too early, and will Barry Neal be able to work out a little strategy to stop them doing it?
Hang on,
Aiden Schultz coming along.
Yeah, I was just about to say, is that Aiden Schultz trying to go, well, you know what, if they're going to work together, I'm going to work with you.
No, Jaeger.
Schultz hangs him out to dry, and Jaeger's the furthest back in this pack, so he gets a huge slingshot coming down into these corners. It's now 4 and a bit laps left to go. They'll come out of turn number 4. It's going to be 4 laps to go, and it is coming to a conclusion quicker than you think. Barry up in the flag stand. He's got the white flag ready to wave. It's a couple laps left to go for that one, Barry, but you can get excited because we're getting excited.
When are you not excited, Scotty?
I'm always excited. Are you kidding me? Where's the oxygen tank? I need another whiff of that.
Oh, I'll carry on with my loss. It's fine. Makes it more enjoyable. Gary Wellman, though, has managed to break out a little bit. He's got almost 0.7 ahead at the moment, and that will change shortly. Of course, the draft will catch him back up, but they have managed to break this pack up a little bit. With 3 laps remaining, it is all getting close to the finish here for the first race of the season, and it is a much longer season than usual for the Australasian Supercar eSeries as well. A longer season this year as well. We've got so much to look forward to. We've got all this racing happening all year long. Look at Barry Neal getting the run on Aiden Schultz now for P3. Those two side by side as they go across the yard of bricks. And it was Schultz just a nose ahead of Neal that time round. Nothing between those two cars as they crossed that line. But at the moment, it is Wellman in the lead.
Yeah, Neal takes it away, and they're catching. I just had a quick look up the road. Gerard Daly is the next car on the road. He just did a 54.2 or 54. He did a 54-second lap, so 1.5 seconds up the road. Is going to be Gerard Daly, and they're catching him at that rate. Is he going to play yet another factor here? 2.5 laps left to run as they enter turn number 3 for the third last time here this evening. Raymond Jaeger might have spent his tyres, might have spent his fuel budget, and there may not be anything left over as we head into an election period. So if Raymond Jaeger was trying to go for Prime Minister, I think he'd be a little bit short on the votes tally.
Yeah, he's really struggling at the moment, and as I said, did he just make a mistake by taking that little bit too well, not taking enough fuel on board, or is he just hanging back, just wanting to get the slingshot? He's still there, he's still in room.
He's crafty.
He's still got that chance with Aiden Schultz at the moment. Aiden Schultz has just dropped back a tiny bit too. They've just dropped off a little bit of the leaders. Maybe they are banking on these 3 getting really, really, really racy, as the white flag will come out very shortly. We're going to see that white flag fly as they go through the corners, coming up behind a big group of lapped cars as well. There is so much traffic in front of these guys now. Where will they go?
Daly's gone high. So here it comes.
Low, the white flag.
Barry for the flag stand wives it, and now it's going to be Barry Neal who tries to make His men up in the stand quite happy. The barriers will be trying to work together here. Wellman leads it coming into turn number 1. Neil goes to the outside, gets chopped up a little bit. They're still catching a pack just up ahead of them. They're not quite in the draft just yet. Yes, they are now. Jamie Nankervis is that car that's up ahead. Donnelly's going to go to the outside here. Barry Neal's going to try and go with him. Cuts down the track. The boys cars take each other out. Neil goes for a wild ride with them, and they're in the fence in turn number 3. It's going to be Aiden Schultz.
Schultz has Bradbury'd it. Aiden Schultz has done the Bradbury. Has he got damage? Has he got speed? Jaeger is trying his best to catch up, but it doesn't look like it's going to happen. It's going to be Aiden Schultz taking the win. As I said, are they holding back just in case something happens? That's what happened. Aiden Schultz gets the victory ahead of Raymond Jaeger. Adam Malone, is he coming home third? He is, with Justin Witcher in fourth. Gary Wellman 5th in the end.
It was Sim Boys who crossed the line with the white flag in the air, P1 and P2. It's not a Sim Boy in sight when the podium is all set and decided. Aiden Schultz takes your checkered flag. He's going to start the season off with a win. Raymond Jaeger will follow him home, and Adam Malone, a man who ended up in trouble on lap number 1. He had damage, and what a comeback story that'll be. We'll get the action replay here. The Locked On Lads, we need to lock on to this one to find out what all went wrong. They tried to check Barry Neal up. They sent him to the high side, and Barry Neal just gets a run, Carl.
No, that's it. And it's actually, I think what's happened is I can't really see contact on the back of Cade Donnelly. It's almost like he's just got that little bit of, it's just lifted it and just tipped him, and he's gone into Gary Wellman and spun his teammate around, and then all of a sudden it's carnage happening there. And then Aiden Schultz was just sitting in the perfect spot, slams on the brakes. Unfortunately, the 802 of who was that? Sorry,
that's not Daly, is it?
Daly, yeah. Daly was Daly was right up there, went straight into Gary Wellman, and he's ended up on the side, but Aiden Schultz just in the perfect position. I said, are they holding back just in case something goes wrong? And it's exactly what happened. And they come through to get the victory. Raymond Jaeger comes home in second, the champion from last year, with Adam Malone, comeback kid tonight, doing a great job getting back and, getting into P3 after having to serve a drive-through penalty.
Drive-through penalty. Had a missing bonnet lid on lap number 1.
Yeah, I think everything happened to Adam Malone tonight, and he still finished in third. Great result from him. Gary Wellman ended up limping home in 5th position. 29 positions gained, though, through that race. Great result, but not the result he would have wanted for sure. Nicholas Walsh came home. Justin Witcher in 4th, I should say. Nicholas Walsh came home in 6th, 15 positions gained. Greg Spencer 7th, 8th for Todd Maxfield. Christopher Finley 9th. Jamie Nankervis finished in 10th in the end, just ahead of Brad Fenley. Barry Neal classified as 12th with that one. Unfortunate for him. Cade Donnelly 13th, 14th for Craig Roffey as well. So I wonder if he drops down a bit for that. Reese May 15th, 16th for Madison. Patton 17th, 18th for Jai Schultz. Troy Mortensen in 19th, and Aaron Barone in 20th.
My word. My word. What can you say? When these cars come to the Yard of the Bricks, lap traffic crossing it over, Aiden Schultz will come into shot here in a few moments from left to right. He'll grab that checkered flag. Race done. Race over. And when at the start of that lap, if you'd have told me that Aiden Schultz would be walking away with a victory, I would have probably said, nah, something major's got to happen. We did get something major. Oh, boy. What a race from start to finish. What a 3 races in a row that we've commentated so far of this, Carl. And
I know. I think I've aged about 17 years in these 3 races.
3 blockbusters.
Yeah, exactly. It has taken everything out of me, but it has been some fantastic action indeed. As the green room starts to fill up, we'll wait for the drivers to get up there, and I'll leave it up to you, Scotty, to do the interview tonight.
Well, I was going to say, Wilco, that's your first Australasian Supercars eSeries. What are your thoughts of that one? We need to catch our breath, I think.
Yeah, it was okay, I guess.
No, it's all right. It could have been better.
No, it was great. 160. It's about 2 hours longer than I thought it would go, and look, caution free for such a long period. It just happened to come down to the white flag, where the two Sim boys came together, and Barry was a bit of a innocent bystander, but Aiden Schultz, we were talking about him all night. He was there and thereabouts. He was leading for bits, and he wasn't leading for bits. Raymond Jaeger, the series defender, had a great run tonight. Adam Malone, I can't wait to talk to him to find out exactly what happened with his his drive through. But even back, we got Todd Maxwell in 8th. Greg Spencer did pretty well to hold on to 7th there. Christopher Finlay seemed to be on a different strategy as well in 9th, and Jamie Nankervis to pick up 10th there is really good. It was just something happening at every point in time. It was a great race, great series, great to be part of it. I've lost everyone now.
You mentioned Adam Malone. Time to talk to Adam Malone. Adam, if we'd have said to you tonight you'd be sitting on the podium and come races end after lap number 1, I think you would have been dreaming.
Mate, I was not expecting that. I was expecting top 15. I would have been happy with that, but P3, I'll take it any day.
Mate, when the Australasian Supercars eSeries comes to the Brickyard, it's always an absolute blockbuster. We've had 3 wide finishes, we've had cracking races, and look, you've crossed the yard of bricks in P3 tonight, mate. Tell us a little bit about it from go to woe, because it's probably actually a few woes in the middle there.
Yeah. Yeah, I got caught in that first little wreck that happened there, and it gave me, I think, about a minute and a half repair. So I fixed that. I was at the back of the pack. Got caught up in a few little incidents there, and I ended up getting a drive-through penalty. Yeah, but taking P3, I'll take it any day. Yeah, I'm stoked.
What was the goal of the race tonight? I mean, you obviously got involved in the early incidents. From there, was it just sort of structure yourself, learn a little bit about the car? What have I got underneath me? What can I do with what I've got? Where's my fuel sitting? Where's my tyres sitting?
Yeah, just trying to manage those tyres. I know a couple of blokes in the team couldn't manage them properly, but yeah, if you came too hard in those corners, it just chewed the tyres up. But other than that, just trying to manage fuel, tyres through the race, really.
Fuel, tyres and driver, because it was a blockbuster tonight, because it went on for just over 2 hours. So it takes a lot out of you when you've got to race at that skill level for that extended period of time too.
Yeah, that's right. It's a big race. You just got to take it easy.
Righto, mate. Congratulations on the podium tonight. This is your opportunity to thank the guys that support you.
Yeah, I'd like to thank Mishi XL Garage, Tiona Holiday Park, SkyPoint, and the Southern Stars esports team. And obviously you guys for broadcasting, and Raymond for hosting this awesome series.
Mate, it's an absolute pleasure when you bring us races like that. You get down there and enjoy the 3rd place, because I have a feeling one of your teammates is going to be celebrating quite extravagantly here tonight.
Yeah, of course. Thanks, guys.
Well, he was series champion last time out. It's 1 step shy of the top step in the first race, but he'll take it nonetheless. It's Raymond Jaeger. Raymond, Scott, Carl, and Wilco up in the booth, mates. Long race, difficult race, tricky race, because you just had to get yourself there in the last stage, and you got yourself there a mile out in front. You nearly cleared these guys coming out of that last stop.
Oh, mate, yeah, that was a long one. That was a tough one. Glad it's over. Yeah, look, I had to sort of get a bit of a gap because on that last stop, because I'm just not as quick as these guys over the short runs. So I knew that I had to sort of get a good gap to have any chance of holding on. Unfortunately, I didn't get enough gap, and I also just about messed up the fuel calculation. I just had enough, as long as I sort of got in behind someone. So, yeah, look, take P2 after that.
I did want to ask how much fuel was left in the tank when you crossed the line.
Yeah, no, I ran out in turn 2, so not much at all.
In all the action, we really missed that. We're watching 3 cars, the podium basically take themselves out, and we forgot that you had no fuel left. So
Oh, yeah.
Excuse me, I did say that he was fuel saving and
we
needing
knew
to
that,
fuel save
but,
it. I did call that earlier on. So
I'm sorry. Can we at the
Interview.
start of the final lap? Yes, we were actually thinking about that. Halfway through the final lap, it no longer mattered.
Yeah, look, those boys, they race hard, and that ending is always a chance. Because the Sim boys don't give anything. Barry Neal's the same, man. He gives as good as he gets. So while those boys were out front, I sort of knew there was half a chance that things could go pear-shaped, and I was just hoping that I would be able to get through the wreck if there was one, and I did. I had to slow down a bit, so unfortunately Aiden got away, and I couldn't quite pull him back down the straight.
Mate, look, that's a phenomenal way to cap off. You start the season with number 1 on your car, you finish in P2. At the start of the night, you guys were the only ones. We sort of looked at that first caution and went, hang on, what are they doing here?
Yeah, so we did a lot of laps. Well, Greg did a lot of laps in practice this week. He clocked the most laps in the official practice day, getting fuel numbers and getting tyre numbers and things like that, just to sort of see how the tyres were going to wear and how many laps we could get out of a full tank and things like that. So we put in a lot of work into our strategy for this one, because this is the biggest race of our season, the Indy 400. This is what we want to win. So we put in a lot of work. We didn't quite get the win, but look, as the defending champion, P2, I'll take that to start the defence, won't I?
All right, mate. Well, obviously the league is a large part of why you do what you do, but obviously a great opportunity to thank the guys that are around you. I get the feeling that Spence is going to get a big round of applause and a pat on the back from you this week.
No, look, I don't like to give Greg too much credit because it goes to his head. So, look, I just want to say thank you. Obviously, Pinnacle Esports, we've been running together for, I guess a full year now, calendar year, I guess. And look, it just makes it a lot more fun. So Greg Spencer, Justin Witcher, Nigel Patton, and Matt Patton. Matt doesn't race a lot with us in this series, but he does in other ones. So they make it a lot more enjoyable. Obviously, want to thank Witcher Electrics and Sim Racing Edge Setup Shop for being sponsors of the team. Obviously, as league admin, I need to give you guys a big shout out for coming on board as the broadcaster this year. The last 2 rounds that you and Carl,
Make that 3.
well, yeah, but I'm just talking like end of last year. The 2 rounds you guys did for us at the end of last year was, I think, our best 2 broadcasts that we've ever had. So I'll go watch this one back, obviously, when I have a chance. And
we'll soon change your opinion on that one when you watch
no. I know you boys do a good job, and obviously having Wilco to do the cameras as well. So thank you guys for doing all this. I need to obviously shout out My Private Seller, the league naming rights sponsor. They make it just so we don't have to pay quite as much out of our own pocket. We got some amazing prizes this season, so they make that all possible, as well as we've got a fair few sponsors now. United Electrical Solutions was one of the new ones. Hot Toddy's Heating Installs, Sim Racing Edge are also a league sponsor. Witcher Electrics, I'm missing one, I know I am. It's
Ed?
got a Sim Racing Edge, yes, they're definitely there. That's all I can think of. If I missed anyone, I apologise, but there's going to be quite a list. I'll make a list for if I'm ever back in the booth. So thank you guys for putting on the race and I'm in the booth, the thing. And I need to thank the drivers for turning up because they're the reason we do it. So
34 drivers. If I'd have told you that you'd have 34 drivers to start a season last season, what would you have said?
Yeah, I wouldn't have quite believed 34, I don't think, because I expect about 23, 24 because we've got this really good core group that rock up each week, and that's of about 20 drivers. So I kind of expect around 23 most weeks, but to get 34, absolutely stoked. So if we can keep that number, for any length of time, I'll be pretty happy.
To put it in perspective for everyone that's actually out there, with the Indy 500 in the month of May, with the Indy cars, they have a max field size of 33 to qualify in. So you've overdone. Oh, of course, they're limited by qualifying numbers and track numbers, but you've exceeded the number of cars that are running in an Indy 500. So that cannot be understated.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think a lot of that comes down to our amazing race last week with the Gentleman Sim Racing Club as well. We had a challenge race with them, which we came out on top of. And I think we gained probably 5 or 6 drivers from them as well. So a big shout out to them. Pete Matson does a great job. He's been a league sponsor for the first 3 seasons. Taken a step back this season, but he still does an amazing job. He's a huge supporter of the league and put that challenge race together as well.
He doesn't use fuel either.
No, yeah, goes the longest on fuel. Yeah, so
yeah, he's good with his fuel, mate. He's quite a good competitor. He's going to win one of these. He's going to win one of these things soon. I'm pretty sure.
He's had, I think, 3 podiums now, so he's getting there. It's coming closer and closer and closer every time around. All right, Ray. Well, look, I'll let you go and celebrate with your team, and you have a great night. And mate, I tell you what, you make it easy to show up in the booth on a Sunday night with the quality of racing we get out here, mate. So keep it up.
Thanks, guys. As I said, really appreciate you taking us on board, and hopefully we can keep bringing some amazing races. So thanks again.
Well, that was Raymond Jaeger, your defending series champion, finishes P2 tonight. But there's one man who, at the start of that final lap, who was looking at a wall of cars ahead of him and thinking about how can he move his way through. Aiden Schultz wins the first of the Triple Crown. Aiden, what a run, and, well, walk us through that final lap.
Good evening, guys. Yeah, thanks. Final lap, pretty much content to take home 4th, and then the seas parted, and here we are in victory lane.
But it's not just as simple as that, because as soon as you see something going on up ahead, you've got to be prepared for it. B, you've got to position the car correctly. C, you've got to make sure that you get back in the throttle as well.
Yeah, 100%. There was a gap there down the middle. I saw Cade come off the outside wall, and I saw this sort of gap there, so I planted through the hole and was lucky enough to get through. So, yeah, that's what saw us there. But it was a long old race.
Look, I mean, you set yourself up well in terms of the fuel and tyre strategy. It was all about management. You were getting the runs. Actually, something I did notice quite late on in the piece as well was the runs. It was so important to build them, sort of sandbag off the corners a little bit, such you're a little bit far enough back at the tail end of the straight. You had so much momentum to send the run through. That's nearly an IndyCar tactic, is it not?
Yeah, it can be, but it's a bit of risk management as well, especially in a race so long. I think probably mid-race on, we probably saw people having a little bit of a look after a couple of those restarts to see what it'd be like at the end. But a lot of it was risk management and just putting you into that fuel window to go to the end. Once we got those cautions out early, I think the mindset to a lot of drivers went, okay, this is most likely going to go green, and that's what we saw.
And it's not an easy race. I think one of the things that you mentioned as well, obviously risk management with a longer race, that's a large part of it, but it's 2 hours. The potential for a mistake to come out somewhere within that 2 hours, it's not simple. You've got to manage yourself, you've got to manage your fuel, you've got to manage your tyres. You've just got to tick, 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 tick. It's 5 laps, the next 5 laps, all of these boxes that you constantly got to be managing.
Yeah, 100%. That's why you got your teammates there to talk you through it. Obviously, they're going through their own thing in their motor race as well, but yeah, just to calm you down and get the mental side. But I tried not to tonight even look at the lap counter. I was looking at what I was getting out of my tyres and my fuel and sort of worked out the strategy that way. But I didn't really look up until about 10 to go. So, yeah, it was an interesting race. It was good to get through pretty much unscathed. Couple of close calls. Some great racing, though, by all the guys. And, yeah, it was good to get the W.
Well, mate, first race of the Triple Crown. The next one will be, I believe, in Homestead, Miami, a lot later on in the season. How do you run there? Do you think you've got an opportunity to win the Triple Crown?
Well, I've done a lot of ovals, so Homestead, Miami, definitely I'm not a stranger to at all by any stretch of the imagination, but I haven't run these supercars on ovals for, well, I think since before the inception of Australasian Supercar eSeries on a regular basis, so it'll be all new for me. but I've watched a lot of it. So hopefully I can take something out of that. That's what I did tonight, and it works. So, but it's round one of a long season. There's a long way to go, and teams championships, and a lot of fast guys here. Anyone can win out of sort of the whole field. So it's going to be a good season to watch.
So looking forward to the next round again next week. I mean, obviously we've had the big one here, the long one. Does it now go into a little bit more of that push strategy, a little bit less of that holding back? Are you still holding back? What's the mindset moving forward with the championship?
Well, look, like any championship, you'd know as well as anyone, Scott, to finish first you must finish. So risk management is the way, obviously, to put yourself in contention for the championship, but also taking those opportunities when they do present themselves. So a bit early to be looking that far down the track, although people say they don't look at it. Of course, heading into round number 2, leading the championship is always a good feeling, but still in the back of your mind, there's a lot that needs to transpire before the end of the season. So, but Homestead, Miami, we'll see if we can get a solid result. That'll be a good way to go into round 3.
Well, look, Homestead's actually a little bit further on in the season, and we'll finish up the Triple Crown at Charlotte for the very final race of the season. Right. Yep.
We are at Charlotte next week as well, so
that's all right. I like Charlotte too.
Yeah,
so that's good.
So it should be good for you. And I just got to say, of course, any win at Indianapolis is always a good one, and especially when you're doing 200 laps of the place. Sorry, 160.
160.
Laps. Yeah,
200
sorry,
laps next weekend.
Yeah. My brain is going dead at this stage, but especially after such a long race, you must be so chuffed with that one.
Yeah, it was good. It was good to finally, you guys have called many races I've been in, and always show the pace, but sometimes results don't go my way. So it was good to actually get a nice solid result first time out in the Australasian Supercar eSeries as a driver for a very long time, and taking the win. So very proud of that, and of course very proud of the team and what they achieved tonight. Coming into, we fell one short with Andy just missing out on the championship by the skin of his teeth. Last 100 metres of the last lap of last year. So we're out there for the team this year, and hopefully we can take home the championship.
And the most important question the night before we finally let you go here in a few moments, Aidan, do you have a glass of milk on standby?
Mate, I actually do. I've got a glass of milk and some custard cream biscuits ready to go to bed, so I might have to... I won't be tipping it out of my shoe, though, I can guarantee you that.
Oh, come on, mate. Drink milk from the shoe. You got to do a shoey.
Mate, I've got to put them on tomorrow night, so I better not. But I'll pretend I did.
Mate, congratulations on first win, first round of the season. It's always a good feeling to get out there on top. An opportunity to thank the people that obviously make it possible for you and the team that's around you as well.
Yeah, of course. So first and foremost, I've got to reference the team, all the guys at Southern Stars Esports, obviously a double team per se in this season with running the Sky Point liveries as the second team for the team's championship as well. So a big thank you to them. Wouldn't be able to do it without them. Of course, the team sponsors, Mish's XL Garage, Sky Point, everyone that follows us, obviously Tiona Holiday Parks as well. Andy for putting the paints together at such short notice. We weren't sure whether we were going to run the season, even up until about 4 days ago. So putting the paints together at a last minute. Of course, you guys doing the broadcast, so the viewers and all us racers can go back and have a look at it, and all the other competitors as well. Without them, we wouldn't have had the race or the spectacle that we have tonight and every other Sunday night. So, yeah, thanks, guys.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, race number 1 of the season, race number 1 of the Triple Crown, winner Aidan Schultz. He's off to celebrate in style, whilst we're off to celebrate in style. As another broadcast well done, Carl. We managed to get through another broadcast filled with excitement, puns, more puns, a little bit of excitement to finish.
Exactly, yeah. We've managed to cause Wilco to pull out more of his hair, so that's a good sign. What we are here for, indeed. But we are off to Charlotte Motor Speedway next time out on the 15th of May, so make sure to join us there. Give a click on the old subscribe, the like, and all those kind of things, so you can catch all the action of the Australasian Supercar E-Series, of course. There is plenty of stuff coming up on Locked On Lads TV as well in the future. We will be back with the Thunder series as well in a little bit of time, and of course there is the podcast episodes and bits and bobs like that go up too. So lots of things to catch on to. Wilco, congratulations on the first broadcast tonight. It all went pretty smoothly and not too many problems.
Yeah, don't change things 20 minutes before the race starts, and it would have been even better. But yeah, no, it was good. I'm happy with it. You guys did really well. You had a great race to show, and there was seriously not many issues. So that's always good. We will be changing things as we go along. This is a very much a bare bones broadcast set up at the moment. We will be adding things to it as the season goes on. So hang around. New studio hopefully by next week's broadcast. Hopefully that will help a little bit. We'll get the webcams back in action by then as well. So that'll be a little bit extra flavor to the broadcast. But thank you everyone who has watched tonight. Thank you everyone in chat. We did try and keep up with you, and if you can, like I said, like, subscribe, follow, give a share, whatever you can do. All that little analytics does help. As Carl mentioned, Locked On iRacing podcast, there is 2 episodes a week generally going up, and we also have the Paddock podcast coming out fairly soon, so keep an eye out for that one on the socials. But the best place is Locked On Lads on Facebook to check it all out, and yeah, that's the best place to find us. But until next Sunday night, that has been it, and have a great night all. We'll talk to you then.